essentially saying it's Charlie Brown gobbledygook. If you've never watched that show, that's what's coming out of Jensen's mouth. Because I'll tell you, like, it's obviously highly technical, so I could sit here and pretend that I understand most of what he's saying, but I think it's the key themes that came out. You saw what happened with Mobileye and GM there when they sort of talked about automated driving. Mobileye, oh my goodness. Mobileye still at the lows, down 6%. It dropped 15 at VWAP from 15 to 14 even. Looking very, very nasty there on Mobileye. I'm only in one position, I guess. Excuse me. Oh, frog in my throat. The next fill that I take, or I guess I could sort of just take a rando fill on a nothing stock. I'm only in Rigetti because that was the other name. I was looking at the quantum names. I think when Nvidia came out and it all started, I was in a short. I was already in a short in a quantum. And then I went QBTS, I already had Rigetti, and I went over to Nvidia. It ran the top, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play Rigetti because I was looking at SMCI. So instead of getting back into Nvidia on the short, I just waited for SMCI to set up because I figured it might be a little bit cleaner of a trade. So I let it break the trend, and that's what Sharif was talking about. But I'm out of it when it bounced that support. I'm still holding on to Rigetti because it's weaker than QBTS. So I was in both QBTS and Rigetti. I got out of QBTS when it bounced VWAP, and I'm like, whatever. I'll just hold on to Rigetti and see if it can get down to 1020 as we shorted this one off the high. Like yesterday's top, and it was still red. Yeah, I'll take that. And it's just a sympathy play. I think a lot of people were saying, sell the news. And no, he's not specifically talking, Jensen's not specifically talking about quantum or anything like that, but let's be real. These were all topping out. QBTS was to us already a short trade, and I think it's weird because it's been trending up, and I get it. It's been trending up fine, but at that moment you saw where I stopped covering Rigetti. That's when I jumped into a QBTS like scalp trade. So I was like, I'll scalp QBTS on the way up instead of covering Rigetti. Hold on to Rigetti and just scalp this into VWAP. So I've taken 3 shots. QBTS has been good today. SMCI kind of moved into the second best stock for me after the quick snipe. But there's a heck of a lot moving in this market that is not just Nvidia, now back underneath VWAP and down 2.5%. Let's not forget Tesla taking it on the chin again, down 5.5%. And that's with a bounce off 222, to get all the way back into 229. So Tesla continuing to head lower. It just doesn't look very good. I mean, the market is not doing well. The Nasdaq's 1.7. Make sure I get 1.75, and that's off the lows. It's 1 3/4 to the downside, so it's not looking incredibly healthy. There was a little bit of strength going on in the ES, but even that, like it was at VWAP and trying to go, it just didn't happen. So you're getting both the ES and the Nasdaq looking pretty weak. The other thing, like I see in the chat, like there's a lot of, I don't know, like back and forth. Like I keep saying, people say, oh, this is a bear trap. It's a bear trap. I always say like the trend is your friend to the end when it bends is an Obi saying, an Obiism. So I think you got to be careful. And then, like, wasn't everybody saying sell the news today? Like I don't recall seeing anybody this morning who was saying, hey, Nvidia is gonna be a long, or the quantum names are going to be an auto long. Like I was willing to, hey man, if they blow out the top, I'm going to get out of the trade when it happens. But if they've made a high and you can be sitting in it, just hold on to it. Someone asked me what I think about QBTS. And ultimately, I think that's also a short. Quantum Days, Miami Dragon, you're right, Quantum Day isn't until the 20th. That said, remember, anytime Jensen's speaking, he can move the market on these. And I think it was sort of an easy opportunity to see them make a top and then look for a continuation short. I don't have an entry for QBTS right now because it was holding VWAP and it's bouncing VWAP. I think I would look for like another curl, like a pop and then some kind of a lower high and then a curl if you want to join a continuation short trade. But I know we're going to do our regular thing where we go up to Sharif and discuss the names that you guys are interested in hearing from us. I have a suspicion that it's going to be the same things that we've been talking about, which is a lot of the chip names, of course, in Tesla. But When we get the go-ahead, I think Sharif is ready. If we're ready to go over to Sharif, I'll let Joe get set up.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, everyone, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. The big boys, including Joe, locked and loaded, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you. But the only way to get your tickers on there is to join us on the How to Trade show during the midday and get into that chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. But you got to be a subscriber in order to get into the chat and engage with us. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing. Here's a look at the triple Qs. And yes, it is a very negative day on the overall market. The NQ and the Dow faring the worst. They're both down 1 4/5, with the ES down 1 1/4, and the Russell 2000 a little bit less than 1%, down 0.92. But all four major averages are in the red. So the red is back after a couple of green days on Friday and yesterday, Monday. Yes, Adair gave us this headline not that long ago. Nvidia's Jensen Huang says General Motors, GM, has selected Nvidia to build its self-driving car fleet. Not much of a catalyst here for Nvidia, but keep an eye on GM, guys.
Yeah, sort of as we were saying, Nvidia it's still getting punished at this moment. And I think there's nothing so far that has been said that is shocking anybody. And I think that's sort of the problem. You've already had such a nice run in here off of the lows, and congratulations to anyone that, that's right, we're not split adjusted on that. Congratulations to anyone that bought recently. But ultimately, you went 20%, 15% off the bottom. Every time I'm reminded that I can just use this tool. The other two, I know Sean was showing us this, and it's I don't know why. I'll just say in a percentage or something like that when we have the ability to just go in here and sort of look at it, get the high, the low, and then move it around and see, hey, what have we actually really moved in that range, right? So we got a 124 high, 109, but a $14 range in there from those tops. And I think it's a healthy pullback that we're in. I don't see anything that's changed about it. You have to separate in this market from your long term to your short term, because we're making lower highs and lower lows in pretty much every conceivable time frame on Nvidia. I'll cop to having the top on, well, I didn't have the top. I stopped out on Nvidia and then took 3 other shorts. So I could have gone back to Nvidia. I think you're looking at a clean trend break. The issue was when it finally broke the trend, I shorted it before it broke trend. When it finally broke the trend, the candle was too heavy, and I had to get into a bunch of other stuff. And that ended up working out. But you're distinctly underneath the trend. You're back underneath the 116 level and underneath VWAP as well. 117-ish is going to be VWAP. So I think playing back into there makes sense. It turns out that I probably got shaken out of SMCI. So I covered SMCI when it bounced off this higher low at 39.75. It's at 39.50 and still falling. I think it's well underneath VWAP. SMCI actually down 6% now. So maybe I should have given this one a little bit more room. But I always feel like a sympathy play. I'm not going to hold the sympathy play for the bigger home run. If Nvidia wasn't making fresh lows down under VWAP, why am I holding SMCI past there? But that turned out to be wrong, and it was an even bigger trade than anticipated. Yeah, I knew number 2 was going to be Tesla. Tesla tanks again. TTA. I feel like we're going to be saying this a lot, Sharif. Yeah. What do you do?
It's a tough look, Neil. There's not much positive to say about this. All I see on that chart is lower lows and lower highs. RBC cut its price target today on Tesla from 440 down to 320. Additionally, Zeekr, which is a Chinese EV, announced it's rolling out advanced driver assistance capabilities free of charge, guys. That's what's moving the needle in China. Tesla basically took forever to roll out their FSD. Apparently, it's not doing that well in China, and it's also quite expensive. And these Chinese EVs rolling it out for free, guys.
I'm going to hit a few buttons here.
Hit.
And maybe one more. Okay. Do I need to say anything else about Tesla? Or did that, I don't know if that sufficed. Is that a proper? Can I say that? Okay, you did that suffice, or did I don't know if that sufficed. That doesn't work. It was that. Thank you, Adara. My English is poor. Yeah, was that sufficient to describe what's happening with Tesla? I don't want to draw any more of those. We don't need them. It's in a downward trend. The lesson of the day was, and I usually talk about like day trading and the stuff we've learned from it. It was more about the swing trade. People that are looking to find bottoms. Where's the next support level on Tesla? Look, I can go back and I showed 140 on a weekly chart, and that was a great bouncing spot as a distinct bottom. And then you've got right in here a supply zone at 170. So that's all well and good to look at, but it doesn't mean you stink bit it. In the long term, dip buy because you're holding it forever and you believe in this thing in a 10-year horizon. That's one thing. It's another thing to sort of try to pick out these bottoms on Tesla. What can you say? Like, there's been a lot of good shorts today. Tesla 100% was one of them. It was John's trade. I mean, I was looking for the mid-30s. It obviously never got there, but it just couldn't do anything outside of get back to 30 and then dump it again here for Tesla. So it's in pain until it isn't. Is an outside chance if we break the low, you could see 10% down on Tesla. And when we see 10% down, in the afternoon, I'm generally looking for a bounce at a 10% down level. It made its low and bounced in the middle of the day yesterday. So the fact that we're going to get there potentially in the power hour, kind of nasty. Just so you guys know, and I'd be throwing to Joe, but Joe's we're having some issues getting set up. So
over to you,
yeah, we'll let it get figured out. But I mean, Tesla's in a world of hurt right now. I don't want to short it at the bottoms because we've had a range-bound type of day, but it does feel like if we get back into VWAP, I'm looking at the quantum names. I'm kind of hoping I can get back into SMCI at VWAP, or maybe reload a quantum name as Rigetti continues to tank, or maybe look at Nvidia at 117. It'll be interesting when Jensen gets finished with his speech, but for Tesla, I think you'll wait for a bounce test of VWAP, or the 10% down might give us a chance. I was going to expand by talking about Rivian and Lucid, but then I noticed, hey, we're actually going to talk about Rivian and Lucid on their own, and MSTR down. This is the problem. Like last year, we do this rundown, and 4 out of the 5 would always be talking about like positive moves. That's not the market we're in right now, everybody. It's just a different story. Oscar Trader saying Tesla below 190 for Friday, 50 in May. 50? I'll take that bet, Oscar. What do you want me to dress up as if it gets to $50 by May? But you got to do something too. I think that's highly unlikely. 190, believable for me. I think it's believable if it sees somewhere in the 140 level. It's not unreasonable. It's still a very high PE. Meta, it's crazy that you guys want to talk about Meta. There's so many things moving more, but Meta is having a bad day, Sharif.
It's not a good look, Neil. It's that umbrella pattern that Adair talks about. Down and to the right and hooks up a little bit. KeyBank Capital cutting its price target on Meta from 750 to 710. So the KeyBank analyst Patterson said he was lowering the price target for advertising type stocks in response to the greater macro uncertainty. It should also be noted he lowered his price target on Google from 210 down to 202, guys. So it looks as if it's a negative comment on digital ad sales.
Guess what begins with the letter M and is at the 200 period moving average? Simple moving average, I should say. We did a video on this, so I should. And when we were doing our video on moving averages, this was an important part because I use the simples on my daily, and obviously it's going to be a little bit different. But you're in a downward trend. Anything, and again, I throw the hands up because anything that I'm looking to dip buy to hold, I'm buying periodically because it's a name that I feel like I want to own more of. And in that category is Meta. In that category, I've already said is Walmart this year for me. I've switched to my monthly buying of the indices to SPY from the Qs the last 2 years, but that's a distinction without a difference. I like it at this level. It's bounced off the 200 period moving average, but today you're in the drop zone. So if you double bottom off here, I'll look for a long in the close, maybe your relief rally. But I'm not touching the long just because it happened to go into this bounce on Meta. You saw this. You've seen this one by one with all the Mag 7 where they poke the holes at it. Apple, China, not innovative enough. Alphabet, search is going to get blown up by AI. and nothing will ever be the same with advertising. I think Meta is going to get some of this treatment. You're going to start to be able to nitpick them. Well, where's the money coming? Like, where's the actual sales and with VR, and why is that not driving? If you look at it from the long term, I think they're going to be fine. They've really figured it out, being efficient in advertising. And I think they're going to win in that. Like them and Netflix, I think have a long way to go in that regard when it comes to dominating advertising. And then the other side of the coin, I think in the next couple of years you'll probably see a little bit more of a pickup with VR. But the 200 period looks pretty good. As I said, I like it for a long-term dip buy. But if you can double bottom off of that same level, because the 200 period, I think you might look for a bit of a dip. Just one more note for everybody, because I know as we're doing this and doing the rundown, Nvidia still trending to the downside. I'm only, I covered QBTS and I covered SMCI. When I got into the other two, I was already in Rigetti. So when I started trading the other two, I stopped trading Rigetti and I'm just unfortunately holding the last 20%. Kind of like lucky when I got into SMCI, and like I said, SMCI started trading that, stopped trading Rigetti, and look at SMCI now. Like I obviously should have held that, but I'm holding on to Rigetti in lieu. So I really like those kind of reversion setups, so it kind of flip from one to the other when that happens. But you're still dropping here in the markets, everybody. There's some good news out there at least. And if you want to call it that, slight bounces in Rivian and Lucid getting upgrades. We'll see how well they hold on to it. Just remember, when a stock is down a bajillion %, it's really easy to move back up 10% because it's just math, right? Sharif?
Oh, yep. All right, guys. Rivian, I mean, it's given back a lot of the gains today. It was up nicely after Benchmark reiterated their buy rating and maintained that $18 price target. Didn't really see too much on the commentary there, but kind of double top in there, Neil, and all the way back down. Not quite all the way down. Still 2% in the green, though.
Believer yet in this move. But what I will say about, the thing I'll say about Lucid, and I'll get to Rivian in a second, because I had some comments in the midday show about specifically about Rivian. I was asked a question about it. Lucid, you can do worse than taking a shot at $2 using the $2 level on Lucid. It's now clean double bottom on the daily. You have the entire team trying to figure out this login. It's kind of jokes next to me. But no, the $2 level, if we come to the chart for a second, Ramin, look at 2. I think that's what you got to work off. Upgrade, downgrade, who cares? Look at the support that you've got working on here. I think if you just give it to underneath there at $1.90 and you want to take a shot at a name with a decent short float, let me double check it before I just sort of say, hey, Lucid's got a short float. What do we got here? 23%. Lucid has a bigger short float than the quantum names. At least based on the sources I have. QBTS and Rigetti are like 21, 22. These guys are at 23. So yeah, like this, it's not bad. It's beneath the 50 and the 200 period on the daily. But yeah, I don't mind this. Like you're taking a shot at a bunch of other things trying to catch bottoms. This could be 10 to 20% worth of risk just to see what could happen on Lucid. And then Rivian, I already said that I recently covered this finally after longing it and taking nothing. The first, like I had it long at an average of, I had some 10s and I had some 13s, so I had an 11 change price. I took nothing out the first time. It bounced again. I took profit at 15, and then I just got out of it when it broke the 50 period and the 200 period moving average in here. So the way I see it for Rivian, yeah, you can work off the 10 as well. But what I was talking about in the midday, I'm just going to take my next shot at it when it's above the major moving averages. Just let it actually do something. Let the money be in other places, like in indices or whatever you want to do with it, or in another swing, and then wait for this to get back above. It's only 2 points today. It's not bad, and this is the other problem. It's already just giving it up. Like Lucid, fine. Work off that even $2 level where it seems to have made a bid, but Rivian, man, if you're giving up the gains that easily, that's not a squeeze play. Lucid's got the better short float. I think just for momentum play, you can do a lot worse than that. Not that I'm touching it, and I'm waiting for a re-entry on Rivian in my swing account, personally. Let's go.
All right, guys, strategy, formerly known as Microstrategy, down again to the tune of 5 1/5. A couple of headlines. They did announce a $500 million STRF preferred stock offering to boost Bitcoin investments, and that's what we're talking about there, about 5 million shares of Series A perpetual Strife preferred stock. That's what STRF means, guys. So adding more on the balance sheet there in terms of Bitcoin.
You know what? At least he's consistent. Like, there's something to be said about people being predictable. MicroStrategy's coming up with a new way to issue debt and buy Bitcoin, great. But what I can tell you, and I said this the last time, yeah, if you like an indicator, one of the things that you want to care about is what is the stock doing with that indicator. And right now, MSTR and the 50 period on the daily is me and pineapple on pizza. Like, it's not getting to the 50 period moving average. It's like trying to get there, and it's just saying no. It's just, it's like you got like opposing magnets, and then you get too close, and you're just bouncing away from it. So that just seems like short the pops until you stop. And then the other thing going on here is, of course, we were talking about IBIT, which I know Joe can opine on. You guys were saying opine a couple times, and for some reason I have it in my head. I don't know if it was you. It might have actually.
I don't think, no, it definitely wasn't.
Was it Sharif?
Yeah, it was definitely Sharif or Dara.
Or maybe it was Adara. I had it in my head. I was like, I got to start using opine because everyone's stepping up their game a little bit with their verbiage. I tried a reversal on IBIT because it's trending down, and I just looked for a reversal pattern. Didn't really happen. And we never got down to the absolute low at that 40, it's like 45.5, where I really thought it would be a better bid. A test of 80,000, but that hasn't happened yet. Still think that's the place to make a little bit of a defense on this trend down. The last time we got to 80,000 was like a very, very clean bounce off of that level. I don't think we see it today. You never really know. If things get nasty, I think you short the 82s and look long at the 80s until proven otherwise. Okay,
there we go. I'm locked and loaded here, Neil. I can give you a little bit of a breather now.
You just didn't want to do the rundown.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking forward to most, was doing the rundown. Honestly, I was excited. It's done, and we got one more, I guess, there. So there we go. We'll just start it all over again. Sharif, from the top, brother. Yeah, here we go. Nice look there. I mean, it's unfortunate. If we can pull up my screen. Anyways, first time working with Neil. We'll take a couple steps back, guys. Sorry, some technicals, but we got it all sorted out now. So that is the positive thing here. I was gonna do a little something. I was gonna come in like Katina, man, how he walks in the office sometimes like this. You know what I mean? So I was in. Yeah.
His hat's on straight.
Yeah, he keeps it on like that, but he keeps a real low profile walking around because, you know, he's a hot commodity. So walking to the YMCA, you got.
I heard you had some fans on the midday.
Yeah, you seen that? That was a little wild, but it is what it is. But I mean, here we go, guys. In the TQs, it's unfortunate. So what I did is, as I was coming over here, we got that move down, but now it's starting to squeeze on us a little bit. My out's up here. Hopefully this range can hold, but green candle after green candle here in the overall markets, not too good of a look for this trade. So if we do crack around 60.30, then I'll just hop out, guys. So about that, a 50-cent loss. But that's okay. Not too much size here, Neil. We'll be patient. We'll take a look at some other names as well, too, to see what we got going on. We'll pull up TradingView. But I'm just being patient right now because I believe that we can continue to break down in the market. As you've seen, we held some of that channel relatively well. We were trading in one right through here, and then now we've held it here. We're running into some support around 59.50, and then now bouncing. So looking for that additional leg to the downside. As long as we continue to construct lower highs here, Neil, I believe that will be okay. But if we sit on top of 60.20 here in the TQs, then I'll just hop out of the trade. I don't mind the risk to reward on that, especially if I'm going to aim for the low a day as well. So yeah, we'll be patient in this. Hopefully it comes clicking. I don't have the chat up or anything along those lines.
I got the chat up.
Yeah, so we'll see what the people are saying.
Well, there's one. I'm going to get to another comment in a second. But Legend League says Jedi Master and his Padawan. Nah, man, we just a couple of Jedi up.
Yeah.
I don't do the whole Padawan thing. In trading, man, like a trader, there's no such thing as a master in trading. Like, you're always kind of learning and trying to get a little bit better.
Always going.
But Bbot is interesting. Bbot 5000. At Joseph, did you let Neil know you wore his glasses?
Oh, you're gonna just say, oh, how are you gonna narc me? Yeah, I wore them for a brief second.
That's cold.
Everybody told me to put on Neil's glasses, so I
Snitches
had
get
to.
stitches.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't rat a brother out.
Yeah, you can't rat a brother out.
we don't snitch.
Is right, man. You can't.
First of all, it's cool. Like, you think I care? Like,
Yeah, of course, I know you do. Exactly.
they're
but,
just whatever.
Weird. Someone told me to try them on. So Sean might have been even the individual. Hey, put on Neil's glasses. So I decided to do so. And I wore them for a brief second. But I'm like, it's like, I told him it reminded me of an old hockey arena I used to play in. And I think it's not Nobleton, but something around those.
Really?
Yeah, it was like an orange arena. It was really weird.
Yeah, that sounds very strange.
Yeah, it was very, very strange here.
That I don't get. Why are they dad glasses? No, if you stare at screens, I'll tell you this right now.
Yes.
So I've been trading since 2003, and this is just my experience. So you're staring at screens every single day for hours at a day, and then like you're staring at screens on your phone. Maybe you go home and you're on your computer, you're watching TV. Not that I watch a ton of TV. And I started getting headaches in the afternoon.
Yes.
And when I went to see my eye doctor, I go regularly. Glaucoma's in my family, so I make sure I go regularly, and to get checkups. And I was describing any issues. I was like, I'm getting some headaches. And he's like, well, what do you do? I staring at screens all day. He's like, well, have you tried blue light glasses? At least a little bit. And I started wearing them in the middle of the day, just the midday. They were doing the pre-market. I take them off during the show. Just in the midday, headaches mostly gone. And we also have these lights that I don't want to look at. They're like really bright that shine on us. That's why we have to wear makeup. Like, see that shine spot? And I think when you're trading, you just want to be able to be in the zone. And if you're getting a headache or you're uncomfortable, it's not going to work for you. So find something that works. If you're, whether it's a comfortable chair, the right keyboard, who cares, man? Like, you can only control so much in the market. You can definitely control your own comfort level and your preparedness to be able to make trades. Nvidia's at VWAP. So this is not where I was expecting like Rigetti and SMCI to be when it got there. What was that? Hey, someone's trying to log into Windows.
Oh, that might be me, possibly. I'm trying to get into the...
It's all good. What was I saying? Oh, Nvidia's already at VWAP, but above it. And I look back over, like, is SMCI at a reload spot? Not really. It's still hanging out the lows. I have put a trail on Rigetti in here because they're now consolidating at this higher low. So there's 3 names I was trading. There was Rigetti, QBTS, and I was active more in QBTS and SMCI, but holding Rigetti. But if we break out this 1040, I'm going to jump out, wait for it to retest VWAP if we continue upside on Nvidia, and go into it. James Dell, no, you don't want to. James Dell, come on now. I hope you're joking. You better have glaucoma. I do. You trust me, you don't want it.
You know what it is for me, Neil? With the blue lights, it just literally it eliminates that. So when I take these off, everything is fuzzy around everything, right? But then when I put them back on, it just eliminates that blur around all the shapes and all the letters and everything. So that's why I utilize them. And then when I go home, I'm also staring at the screen for a couple more hours there. So yeah, I like them. Yeah. Of course, I got to go home and do some more due diligence, check the options chain, see what's going on, construct trades, and that's what I do. I go home and I'll just put together like options trades and stuff to see what I like for
What's interesting is I used to do more charting and stuff at home before my kid was.
Yeah.
And now it's like I get in even earlier so that when I'm here, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm on the train, I also can look at stuff on the train. Once I get home, it's like
no, shut off mode.
Shut off.
Yeah, that's fair. You put in.
I'm dead. You're dead.
You put in the time, so I still got to put in those work hours there, guys. Rookie hours over here, even though we've been doing it a while. But again, yeah, I run. So I like to run in the morning. I'll run my scans in the morning. But then when I get home, I take a nice little breather, a nice glass of water. I turn on the old home desktop there, and then I just run through the day, run through my previous trades to see what's going on. And I most definitely look at the options chain as well too. And I'll just start constructing credit spreads, bull spreads, looking at deltas, etc. Just because I'm intrigued. And then I'll also have CNBC, and I'll watch the recap here in the back as well too.
Nice.
So yeah. So that's the game plan usually. And then I hit the gym around 7:30, 8 o'clock when it's not too busy, and then I come home and I eat some food. So
I can't deal with I don't like traveling to a gym. I feel like it's wasted time. But like, I saw some people in the chat saying, "What do you feel about?" Yes, I know what helps glaucoma. I don't actually have it. It's just in my family, and I get it. So I appreciate everybody that's like giving advice. It's cool to have a community like that cares. There's a lot of people saying, "What? This is at VWAP, that's at VWAP. What do you think of it?" Intel's at VWAP, but I missed a reversion on Intel of some higher lows, and I'm kind of thinking the other direction. Like I want it to break trend, and I don't know. Until proven otherwise, I'm kind of feeling shorts right now. And then Palantir was the other one that I saw a few people asking about. This is lower highs, down 4%. I'm not really feeling the longs. Like it just failed the 50 period again today. Like that just makes me look for short the pops again until proven otherwise. I would think if Nvidia could really start blowing this out above VWAP, then it makes a little bit more sense. Cash now is asking about the Qs. There you go. Like I'm looking at the Qs right in here, and I think you get you can see how much they're moving, obviously, into like a percentage basis. Like you're getting more juice out of SMCI, Rigetti, QBTS, no question about it. That's why I'm looking at those stocks. But come on, look at this 476 top on the Q. Like what if there's two trades, either you're waiting for it to get to the top in there, or maybe you're taking some money longs inside of the range. We've been range bound on the Q, and it's not just that. Like I can pull up a chart of the ES and show you the same range bottom. Like you can be playing inside of the range, waiting for a break of the range, one of those two. I just think for this afternoon, because of the Nvidia event, like just think about how much some of these stocks have moved. Like Rigetti has pulled back almost a full 10%. Like it went from up to, it's like down 7 points, pull back from 1120 highs to 1030. Like that's a hefty move in. SMCI is moving big. Mobileye is moving big. Nvidia is in play. So I'm going to be looking at those names instead of the Qs. But yeah, clear range to work off of.
Yeah, and that's what I've been trading off. It's unfortunate that we're starting to squeeze here as well too, Neil. So I did short the top. I tried to get the top of the end of the range, but I've seen a lot of the Mag 7 starting to pull in as well too. And then I got that move, but we held these support levels really well. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get out. So if we sit on top of this level right here, then I'm going to get out of the trade, and that's going to be 60-20. We seem to be rejecting it fairly decently right now, so that's a positive sign for this potential short. And if the big names want to take another leg to the downside, then I think we'll be sitting okay. So as long as we don't break 60 this high right here, then we'll be sitting in Suntan City, sitting pretty there, guys. But yeah, let me know if you're looking at anything in the chat you want me to go over. I went over some of my trades from earlier today as well, so we'll go over Hood once again, guys, to see what we had going on. A really nice trade, and if we continue to climb, that's not Hood. There we go. So yeah, so you can see that we've had the inability to crack 40 and hold it here on Hood. And that's just due to the high levels of OI on the options chain, all right? So we got to take that into consideration there, guys. A nice trade here. It took 4 attempts, essentially, to really get the move that we were looking for. This was attempt 1 in the earlier hours of the session here, guys, and then the second attempt here, and then we just got out really quick. And then we got an additional move off of this candle, a nice couple partials here, about 33%, and then we got stopped out. But we were just patient, and we stuck to the thesis. If this level was going to hold, then we were going to enter again. You can see that we held this support level, and then we just climbed higher and higher there in Hood. So yeah, that was one of the better trades of the day. And then we also have XPEV as well too. That's what we were trading just due to the earnings call. And I thought that this was going to be a long, to be honest with you. Pretty good report. They said they're going to quadruple deliveries in Q1 of 25, which is really fantastic. But then we just sold off about 8% there, Neil. So a tough look there on that front with XPEV, but we still managed to grab a bottom and then peace out as we climbed higher, and a nice add to the position. So yeah, that was my 2 looks there on XPEV and on Hood, and then now we're going to continuously be short here on the TQs to see if we can get that breakdown. It does look like we want to head to the lower end of the range, so I'll be patient, and if we can get that play and then the crack of the low a day, I know it is around 2:30, so there is some time, an hour and a half left here in order for it to grind, but I think that's the case here, Neil. It's going to be a little bit of a grind to the downside if we want to take that second leg lower.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I have one beef. The yellow for the short.
The yellow, yeah, you don't like the yellow.
No, pop the purple on.
Yeah, it sticks out, man. Bad eyes, man.
The position board was up again. I'm only in Rigetti. Joe is in position on the TQQQ.
Yeah. I'll have to do a transaction quick. I'll have to put on a trade.
Well, it just disappeared again. Well, yeah. I'm still in the same Rigetti trade. No, it's just saying I want to talk about QBTS because it's at VWAP, so I'm looking for essentially a test of VWAP again. Maybe it'll get up to this 1070 and curl. If it does any reversal or curl off of this back under VWAP, I'm going to look for the short on QBTS, which is D-Wave. I know it has been at points strong today, but 3 for 3 on it, picking out the shorts, and it's been trending down. So that's, I think, the next place that I want to look. Rigetti seems like it's either going to dump from here into $10, or if it would have to go up a couple of percentage points to get back into VWAP on its own. This is one that I want to watch here on QBTS. We had to pay for locates on this, but that's absolutely, it's really cheap, absolutely fine. But yeah, this is the one I'm going to get, I think we'll get into. It's trying to test that VWAP as we speak. But if there's anything else you guys are looking at, let us know for sure. And Jensen's still talking.
There you go.
So like I was listening to it, but as I said before, it's not as if, it's more like the big themes that you just want to see him discuss, more than just understanding every single nuance in there. He's just talking about the Blackwell Ultra right now. But let's go to Adair for an update.
One announcement here that Jensen just made that I think is key here is he said that the Blackwell, the new Blackwell is 40 times more than the performance of Hopper when it comes to reasoning. But it also announced that the Blackwell Ultra chip is going to be released in the second half of 2025. And apparently their Ultra AI Factory platform will be paving the way for the AI age of reasoning. He's really been touting this brand new chip they have coming through here, which is the Blackwell. So keep an eye on this stock here. Jensen Huang is going into I guess, near the end of hour 2 of his keynote. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Adara. Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're looking forward to what Jensen has to bring to the table and continuously does so. But yeah, guys, TQ's looking like it wants to squeeze a little bit here, Neil. That's the thing about this range-bound trading. You catch the tops and the highs quite often. So in order for us to break down, we got to continuously make these lower highs. But I have a feeling that we're going to sit on top of this range and maybe the ball will start to get rolling here in the TQs, which it looks like, because these buying pressure candles are significantly stronger than what we have from on the sell side. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we missed this all the way down here. We would have took some out and then got break even, but we'll just hold till the thesis is invalid, and that's at the crack of that. So the nice look on the 3-minute. Break that 60.36, then we're just going to get out of the trade. But yeah, guys, let me know what you're looking at. We still got some time left in the session. Sit inside Neil for the first time today. It's blessed.
It is the first time.
Yeah, it is the first time. Yeah, it's the first time. I had the privilege of sitting in your desk last week too, which was a good time. Put on the glasses and everything. So yeah.
This is a weird question.
Yeah.
But I know I had this issue when we did like a back and forth and we were taking shots during the midday a couple of years, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And I had to switch from the right desk to the left desk.
Yeah.
And it was surprisingly awkward for me because I had to redo my layout.
Your
looking
layout
in different places.
Yeah, I had to do that too. So it was like the opposite. No, I mean, I'm right-handed, but for some reason I like the left side because I guess I'm just used to looking at Sharif like this, right? So I'd be looking at him like that. But it didn't work for the old setup there. All right, guys, we're quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Quickly, just because I said the next trade I would look for is if and you can't, unless I zoom in, you're not going to be able to see. So there's a wick over VWAP. I said if we wicked over VWAP, I'm going to take it on the way back down. So it opened, came back underneath VWAP, grabbed the short, but it broke out the local high, so I'm jumping out. Tight stops, I mean, you know how the deal is for me. It's going to be a tight stop that I'm going to adhere to and then wait for the next level. If there's a better level up top to work off of, that's what I want to do. Rigetti, I do have a trail out on that, so if it does pop a little bit further, I'm trailing out of that one. But now all of a sudden, okay, Nvidia is not moving. But now all of a sudden you're catching a bit of a bid. But what's interesting to me is the market's at the top end of the range. Remember Apple, how strong that was in the afternoon? Where it just kind of sat there barcoding high or low and then broke out and then rallied? Well, it's not really doing anything. So I'm going to have it on the back burner only because of how strong it was in the back half of yesterday. And if it's going to do the same thing, there was never a shot at that 210 that we liked this morning. The market, it did go down. It just never got to that level. But if we can break out this 212 and a half, that looks like an opportunity. And I know there's also this small cap. There's a couple of them. 180TX at VWAP. What's the other one? Shoot, you guys were talking about it a second ago. It'll come to me, or someone's going to post it, because it was another small runner. I thought it began with an A. That was more at the highs. ADTX, the reason this is not a interesting name for me at VWAP should be obvious. Look at the volume. So it's at VWAP, and it's up 75%, but the volume is completely died. If anything, I would almost consider, do I want to flat bottom break this short, but I haven't even checked to see what locates are in this, so I'd have to price them out, and not going to just jump in and do that. But the other thing we're going to be watching, like I said, is going to be Apple. Nvidia is now really not doing anything. So since we came back on, it went to VWAP, it's holding VWAP, and as long as it's underneath, I'm still looking for shorts. Ideally, we get this breakdown underneath VWAP in 26 on Intel, or, I mean, the other way that this could play on Intel is it could just go back up and give us shorts in the high 26 level. So it's that. Maybe we get QBTS higher, although I just looked over and said, well, maybe we get QBTS higher. Rigetti just trailed out. So I'm out of Rigetti. We'll end up with like an 80 cent on that one, or 74 cents, or whatever it works out to. I think it's exactly 74 cents. I don't know why I'm saying kind of 74 pennies. But we were into, the second we were getting it, stopping trading this, like, why would you not short it here, Neil? Because I was shorting SMCI and QBTS in that moment, because they were entries on that one. And we'll look for a VWAP retrace here. If it can get here, maybe I'll take the same shot with a tight stop at 1070 on Rigetti. But I'm not giving them up yet, because as far as I'm concerned, Nvidia's not doing anything until it makes a move. I want to be nimble. I'm kind of hoping Jensen will finish, and then that'll be an opportunity to maybe take a reversion trade. But he's still going strong, talking about, what has he got up there? Spectrum X.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Spectrum X, supercharged Ethernet. Go, Jensen.
Oh.
Like I said, he's a bunch of technical stuff that's probably interesting to people more so than me. I just want to see the stock move away from VWAP.
Exactly, and that's a valid point there. We have a little bit of a range-bound day, guys. I mentioned just from an options chain standpoint too, Neil, I'm sure you heard me, is just that we have so much open interest at that $120 strike price. It's hard to get out of that zone and go north of that, especially when it's almost equal on both sides of the chain there. So again, a nice bounce. I know Sean actually had it shorted as well too, guys, from those levels, which worked out really well. So yeah, good look, running into some pre-market lows, rejected at key level in the options market, and then continue to the south side. But we are still in this TQs, and I just want to talk a little bit about repositioning. You guys know I talk about it quite often, but you can see where I'm in at. We got that move, but in order to get a one-to-one risk to reward, I need a little bit larger of a move. Unfortunately, I couldn't take any out, but then I just got out at the top of the range, and then I hopped right back in, but now the RVR is drastically better, all right? So that's something to note, because now I'm only risking the high there. As we continue to move lower, now you're sitting at a one-to-one already, opposed to what I was sitting at with a 20-cent loss, what this is, and using this as a high and then needing the longer move. So yeah, we'll start to piece them out at 59.90 here, and hopefully that we can go and test the low end of the range. I think that would be really positive, especially if the likes of these big names here, Neil, decide to break down. It looks like NVDA on the 5-minute chart is doing so, which is a positive sign. Yeah, it's trying to anyways, right? So if it starts to participate, then I think we'll be sitting okay. But what are the other big names up to is what I really want to. Apple taking another leg to the downside here as well, guys. So that is AAPL right here, looking like it wants to take another leg down, holding the lower end of this range, getting a bounce now, but you can see that nice, strong engulfing candle right here, right into the support level. See if it cracks there, and then maybe we'll be continuing to sit half decently on this trade. If we can break 90s, then I'm going to wait for that next support level as well too. That will be around 59.80s, and then that's when we're going to start to take some off the table there. Neil, yeah, so let me know what you guys are looking at in the chat. We'll go over a couple names here. Yeah, I'm going to be patient. I went over the trades that I had on. You can see from my notes this morning, I hyper-focused. We had XPEV with earnings, want to stick to in-play names. I had a thesis built on Hood, which we really liked. Really strong session yesterday, looking for that continuation within the trend and the trade, and we got both of those. You just have to be a little bit more patient than usual, especially in this market environment. We're not going to get those out the gate blows off the top like we usually do about a couple months ago. But let's see what Adair's up to.
Just keep an eye here on LUV, a lawsuit filing here is showing that the Justice Department is in talks with LUV, Southwest Airlines, to resolve a U.S. lawsuit over chronically delayed flights. So apparently LUV here potentially going to settle or resolve this lawsuit with the Justice Department over constant flight delays. So keep an eye on LUV. Jensen Huang here, and still talking here at the Nvidia conference. He's having some issues right now with some wires. So keep an eye on Jensen Huang's Nvidia conference. Again, we're entering almost hour 3 of this conference in about 15 minutes. Back to you.
Oh, that's what's going on. Because he's holding some stuff and it's all like tangled up. And I'm like, what is this guy doing?
Oh,
like,
yeah, I know.
You think you would be a little bit more prepped. I don't know if I'm allowed to show it. So, I mean, whatever. Like I said, if the stock was moving more, I think your opportunity to play off the shorts happened. It wasn't at 1 o'clock, but like just adjacent after 1 o'clock. Like I'm looking at, like again, like SMCI down here, which is down 7 points. Like, yuck, not very good. That was your shot. And the other thing that was, nasty, I should say, Mobileye. The second they talked about the partnership with GM for automated driving, Mobileye still down 4 points. The problem is it's not moving. So everything is sort of sideways as Nvidia tries to decide what's going to do. And it's just a big, it's almost like it's trapping you in both directions. Like I want to see it break away from this range. Ideally, favoring downside. So ideally, you're going to break this to the downside. And whether we get QBTS again, although that looks stronger, I think Rigetti makes more sense than QBTS for me in the quantum space. They would just been following along. But QBTS is now back up at 11. We covered it when it broke out at VWAP. And meanwhile, Rigetti is trying to get back into VWAP. So a little bit more weakness here, down 6 points instead of down 2 points. This is the one I want to wait to be able to get into a short for sure. Bren saying he's talking about a move to photonics to use less copper. Well, I know a few people that have been saying copper is a good buy. I wonder how that's going to reflect that. That you got to watch out for those commodities. I mean, he can move the markets for sure, but he's not moving his stock right now. That's the more important thing to work with. Will says Amazon's at high a day. Yes, it is. This is okay. That's a good look. This is a good look. Wow. Like, where's some relative strength? What are the futures doing? Range bound, nothing. Amazon, higher highs, higher lows, upward channel. Relative strength, it's down 1.2%, but it's relatively strong in the moment. And as a trader, it matters more what's happening in the moment than just some percentage point, right? So it's barely better than the market, but it's at that, it's breaking the resistance top as opposed to the market just being at it. What that tells me, the market breaks out, Amazon's going to be good on dip buys. And if the market doesn't break out and you get a dip buy, you're going to be able to get out of Amazon before the market falls apart. So next available dip may be on Amazon. I'll throw that up on my 4th chart. So now that I'm looking at Nvidia, QBTS, Rigetti, I'm going to get away from QBTS, SMCI, and now Amazon, I think, is starting to make some sense here. But I'm not just going to buy highs. You got to wait for a little dip, consolidation, and then get in.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you on that front, Neil. I was looking at the quantum space this morning as well, too. I was trading it yesterday. QBTS and RGTI worked up half decently pretty good yesterday. Today, I took my eyes off the radar just because I had some other ideas in mind, but I like the way they traded. QBTS is definitely one of my A-plus setups here. When I was looking at it, I was already sitting in some trades, and I'm like, oh, no, this is what I really like. I know this is not easy here, so we'll pull this up. But I just want to point this out from the 1 minute time frame and just what I'm specifically looking for here in the opening drives, because I feel that's where I'm at my highest strength. So during the opening drive, guys, you can see that we were just hovering below the volume weighted average price. We put in this indecision candle right here, and then we punch through VWAP and hold. So it's a nice V-shaped pattern with double dojis there, and then we break through VWAP. We're going to talk more about this specific setup right after we get back from Adara.
It is worth noting here, TSM trying to push a little bit higher here, breaking out of support. Taiwan Semiconductor has been mentioned multiple times by Jensen Huang, especially in the last few minutes or so of this Nvidia conference. I guess they've worked pretty heavily with TSM here, so keep an eye on Taiwan Semi. This name much like the rest of the market getting a bit of a push to the upside here. Back to you.
Yeah, there's a push.
Yeah, there was a push right there, Neil says. So we'll take a look at the cues. I'm glad that I got out of it because we weren't breaking down and it seemed like we were just in squeeze type price action. We're now breaking through some key resistance zones here, guys. So keep that in mind. You can see that we have that flat top here, multiple resistance, and we were trading in this channel until it broke, and then now we've recovered, put in some really strong prints here, and then now trading above that. So watch out for that squeeze type price action, especially when you're down a couple percent on the day anyway. So yeah, monitor that. But just back to the QBTS setup, really like this one. This is where I like to call it the elastic effect here in this indicator, and that's all I really have on my charts is the volume weighted average price. I mentioned from before, I check the cams in the morning, and I look at a couple other things as well too, obviously the chain and everything along those lines. But this is what I'm looking for specifically, is that nice effect with dojis at an extreme low, and then you get that punch through the volume. You can see it slowly start to stair step here, and then on the pullback, you get that dwindling volume, and then you just get that continued average volume throughout this whole move to the top side. And I know that the boys here shorted it from this high all the way down into the volume weighted average price, but then bounce recovery, puts in a new high day, and then continues to the top side. At one point, Neil, we were down like 6-7% in this name. So a half decent recovery here, only about 2.3% down on the session. So that's solid. And I mentioned this before, you're up 150% since last week here in QBTS. Trading at a low of $4.50. Now you're trading at, what is that, $10.98, $11 we'll call it even. So a really good look in this quantum space. I want to get involved in it, but I just don't think from Rigetti's last report that they're making enough money. It would definitely be a forward-looking
none
play.
of them are.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's just like I want to be patient, and then that's why I referred to the hood trade, is because their Q4 results were absolutely fantastic, and then now down 50% off of those highs. I think that's a good buy-in.
The problem is with the quantum names, like by the time they're producing, you'll be like you're not going to want to chase the move.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just got to take a shot. Now I will say this, and I said it this morning. I've said it usually every time these names come up in my family. Ooh, Apple is breaking its range. My wife owns QBTS from like $1. We were talking about quantum. She heard specifically that name at a conference on like a cyber. It wasn't a cyber. It was like a cybersecurity and data conference that she was at.
How long ago was this?
Oh, this was way back.
Oh, so
my
there you
goodness.
go.
This was like beginning of last year.
So that's what I was thinking. This is the name where you put
a long time
$1,000 in,
ago.
and then you just sit on it for 5 to 6 years or whatever.
I was like, we were talking about quantum computing in general, and then she's like, I heard some stuff about this name, and we basically talked about that. Let's go to Adara. We've got some news. Market is trying to break out.
We have a post from Donald Trump himself, the president of the United States, on Truth Social. He said that his call today with President Putin, which again took place around 10 a.m. Eastern, he said it was a very good and productive call, and that they agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure with an understanding they would be working towards a complete ceasefire quickly. So looking for a ceasefire, already agreeing here on aspects of a ceasefire, specifically with regards to energy and infrastructure. It's worth noting the details of this were more or less reported on earlier today or told by the White House, but this is coming out now here from Trump himself on Truth Social. Again, ceasefire updates. Also, we have a nice look here for Solana to USD. CME Group saying that they are going to be launching here their first Solana futures. So CME Group announcing the first trades of the Solana futures, or SOL. So keep an eye on Solana getting a little push here with some volume as we head into Power Hour in next about 5 minutes. Back to you.
Why not? I mean, you kind of knew this. Everyone's like waiting for what's the next ETF? What's the next futures in crypto? Like, what's the next thing to happen? I mean, Solana's getting kind of moked. Like, I've said moked a lot today because everything has been down, but Solana's been taking it on the chin like everything else. It's always, I don't know, whenever I use TradingView for these, like I pull up a new chart and it always expands. Like I didn't do it, it just did it itself, and that's how it is. No, but like you've had a pretty precipitous pullback. So you're at a support level. It's not doing much of anything right now, but if 120 doesn't hold, I mean, forget about it here. So maybe this is the kind of catalyst that can get it to go. Oftentimes, however, when you get the announcement of an ETF or futures or that next step, it can already be priced in, and then you can get that selling event. But it is at a major support level. I just wanted to pull up the daily chart so that you guys could see that. What's interesting in that move up, like Apple tried to go, so we jumped into that breakout trade, giving it to the prior bar on a 3-minute. But I looked back over, I'm like, okay, if we still like Rigetti or D-Wave. Now, D-Wave, we said was above VWAP, don't like it as much, but Rigetti, barely moving up. So even with this move up in the futures, Rigetti's barely going. I think a chance to get back into this. If it doesn't break VWAP here, I might just try to take the short off the $0.50, like this 10.50 if it rejects it a couple more times in there. But that one makes sense. Aura Alpha, Alt-R, TV, auto scale. Oh, thank you. Trading view, Alt-R, auto scales. Yeah, I don't really use it that much.
Yeah.
To be honest, I have e-signal up now that I use a heck of a lot more. But it's just when we're showing like the crypto stuff specifically because we actually have it there. I'll just use that because we don't actually have the crypto on e-signal, at least not to my knowledge. If I do have the data on e-signal, then I don't think I'm paying for it.
Yeah, that's good there. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'll just use it real quick because sometimes it's a little faster. But as for the Solana thing, and I mentioned this before, Neil, like we trade IBIT here on the show once in a while when Bitcoin's in play. But I can't ever say that, I don't know, I'll speak for myself. I personally have never traded the Ether ETF, the Ethereum ETF. I believe it's ETHU. I don't think Sharif has either. But again, and people were talking, what is
the stream's frozen?
Is it? Oh, is it? So
I can show this because it's not working. Just very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
The stream is now buffering, so this is on and off. They're having issues.
I heard they were having some audio issues along the lines time as well too. So, but what I was getting at, I don't know if there's going to be enough demand for a Solana ETF. I don't even trade ETHU, which I believe is the Ethereum volatility 2x. Okay, that's a 2x. Okay, so I don't want that one. But we can see it here, guys. But there's liquidity issues. So again, that's just going to tell me the popularity in this vehicle specifically isn't really there. Not too much volume, but it is a 2x leverage derivative. We'll take a look at it from a daily standpoint to see what as the high of what it was trading at. So this is the issue with these decaying vehicles is that we were up at 16.34 and now trading at $2 is not a good look on this 2x. So that's about an 89% loss if you're using this vehicle or even swing trading it or investing in it. And that's why I say the TQs, SOXL, and vehicles like that aren't meant to be for the long term. You can play swings in them short term, but just be wary of the decay as well because they're rebalanced every day. So again, an 89% drop in ETHU when Ether itself, the actual underlying asset, let's see how much it's dropped here. Is nowhere close, even though it is being hit. You got to take that into account. But from peak to trough here, only, that's hefty, about 55%. But again, not even anywhere close to where that 2x leverage derivative is. All right. So guys, ETHE is, exactly. That's what I'm looking for, VizBot, ETHE. But the thing is here, guys, so I'm out of the TQs. You can see I have no positions on right now. We tried 2 shorts, but then we just got squeezed out. That's why we got out here. A nice tight risk, and then we got that squeeze type price action. So if you flip to the long bias, then congratulations to you on that move. It seems to have worked out pretty good. So we're coming back into the zone. That's right, Neil. Let's see if it holds, and then maybe you'll get that continuation within the trend. But right now, I'm just looking at individual stocks. We won't take any more stabs at the TQs because of the MAG just trading eastbound, it seems. So I'm going to look for things that are in play, and in my opinion, that's going to be Hood and XPEV because they did have earnings. But if you look at XPEV, it doesn't seem the liquidity is dried out here, guys. And then you can see kind of just getting this barcode type price action, even though we have 76 million shares traded here. That's just not overly orderly, and I don't like that. I was going to buy the top of this range, but you can see that we now came back and trading at the low of it. So 22.57 is the low of this range, and we're hovering around those levels. Let's see what we got going on from a 5-minute standpoint. Real quick. See, so this is weak. I would look for a continuation in this downtrend because we consistently form lower highs throughout the whole session, the intraday session that is, especially on earnings day. So you don't want to fight that trend. You got to take a look at the options market to see what it's pricing in as well. Pardon me?
On that daily is a lot of room to pull back.
Yeah, there is a lot of room. And I mean, with these Chinese ADRs hovering around those highs, Neil, I think there's definitely some room for, not much room for error, I don't think, in some of these names.
I 100% agree. By the way, the stream's back up. Now they're talking about DGX, the ultimate workstation for AI and data science. They're back up and running, but it was going in and out, cutting in and out there. We'll see if it manages to hold up. Somebody I always feel bad because anytime when you're in an organization or you've worked a while, you realize something like that happens in front of the whole world. Ooh, somebody out there is feeling the sweat. I always feel bad, whoever that person might be. Apple, we'll have to fail on that one. I'll go to Rigetti first, but got to talk Apple. The breakout, just wanted to look for, when I see something like this happen on Apple yesterday, like the way, and it kind of did it on Friday when I wasn't here, just looking at like a late bounce, but this was more of a consolidation breakout. When I see that happen, I look for the same thing in the afternoon if it just goes there again. Like if there's an afternoon buy or something like that, I want to participate. If it doesn't continue, then I'm just going to get out at the prior high, and then we're back over to Rigetti. I picked this over QBTS, I think for some obvious reasons. I trailed out of it, but it's still not breaking away, so I'm just going to jump back in on Rigetti because it's holding underneath VWAP, and the difference between it and QBTS, I think at this point should be obvious. QBTS is kind of holding near the above VWAP, not near the top, but just holding a little more strength. So we're back to Rigetti, which I think is the weaker of the quantum names. It's been a good short the whole time. Theodore Lang says the Mara bottom is in. Is it though?
Yeah, I know. Is it, like, seriously?
I mean, it's down 6%. 12 has been good on the daily. It's already bounced once off that area today. It tried to bounce a second time. It gave you a rejection candle on the 15-minute. Like, that's not a very good looking. Let me zoom in for you guys. That's not the healthiest continuation candle off of this little wick bottom. Because look at the tall tail, and now you're immediately closing underneath. So unless you get a better look in this next 15-minute candle, I don't know how optimistic I feel. When I didn't get filled at in front of 12 this morning, I was sitting at 12.12 and it got to 12.15. Sean had it at 25. I was waiting for the bottom. Once it bounced off that once, I'm like, that's fine. That's the trade that's missed. I'm not going to try and chase it. If it trends back into that low, I'm not going to be fighting that stock. I think it's a good look on the daily chart that if it can hold this bottom and maybe break out the $0.50, you can get a swing trade in. But for the day trade, I don't know if there's a bottom in just yet on that bad boy. So I'm going to stick to the quants there, quant names because they're moving. And then George, what about KBSX? That was the other small cap, the one that was actually running. The daily chart's not very good, but up 270%. Just watch out because it's doing a bit of a trend break as we speak, and sometimes he's get all the way to VWAP. Let's go to Adair.
Let's keep an eye here on Dell, DELL, much like TSM, HP, IBM, a whole host of companies being mentioned by Jensen Huang during his Nvidia GTC 2025 keynote speech, which is still going on. He did say here that Dell is going to be partnering with Nvidia with regards to some AI-related platforms. Keep an eye here on DELL. There's a PowerPoint up right now here with some photos for his slide about the Dell and Nvidia partnership and what that entails. So keep an eye here on DELL, or if you're involved in Dell, it is worth noting. It's being discussed right now by Jensen, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you for that,
strong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, guys, we're holding on the lows here on XPEV. You can see that base put in around 2260, so that support level is coming into play. If you want to play the bounce of it, then, I mean, just be wary. You do have definitive outs. That's one thing that you always want to know. You want to plan the trade before you hop into it. So here we go, 2264. If you're going to play the long, you want to get out around 2258. But again, it's just sideways price action. Every candle is overlapping one another. You don't have a definitive trend right now, even though the primary is to the downside. It's just for the past, since what, 12:20 for the past couple hours here, you've just gone eastward. So yeah, just be wary of that if you're going to buy the bottom of the ranges. I don't think this is a breakout type price action. You really need that volume to start to pick up here on the lower time frames. Even it is displaying that, and a nice hammer candle as well too. But just from a momentum standpoint, to break through those resistance levels, we're going to need to get the ball rolling in relatively quicker. But again, I'm not going to try to force anything. Sell into resistance, buy into support, and hopefully that works out, especially in this range-bound type price action. Yeah, QU, sorry, what was the one that you wanted me to look at? QUBT? For sure, QUBT. We can take a look at it. And I said that I like QBTS a little bit more, just due to the fact of where we're sitting at from a daily technical standpoint. So you can see that it's been lagging its peers here. A hefty haircut, guys, 67% from that peak to where we're currently trading at right now. So it's not the best look, and it's not recovering kind of like QBTS, right? So you can see this D-wave quantum here. We're now trading around those highs, which is a positive sign. But if we were going to go from peak to trough here to see how much we were down at one point, so 66%. So off of these lows, and then now we're way back and putting in a new high here. So 212% from that trough to the peak there. So yeah, I think I would want to stick with stronger names, Lewis Edwards, if that's what you're looking for. I get it, things can laggard, but why is it lagging the market? Why is it lagging everything else in its sector? So yeah, I think you got to answer that question as well. Let's see what RGTI is up to, considering we're there. And I mean, it's trading better than QUBT, right? So I do like Rigetti more than QBTS, all right? So let's see what Adair's up to. There's a lot of QUs going on.
Watch out for these robotic tickers here right now. One of them is RR, Rich Tech Robotics. This one got a little bit of a pop here. As Jensen Huang said, now it's time to talk about robots. They're showing a video right now about robots as well. So Nvidia robotics talk is getting a little bit of a move here. And some of these robotic tickers, again, off the top of my head, RR is one of them here, a small cap name here. This one on watch, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, I almost think that'll be, because it'll be like vague, and RegTech might be if it can get up higher, maybe a fade opportunity, because they've taken it on the chin, down 11% today. The other name that's down big time is Reddit. Like,
is Reddit still down?
It's just sort of like, because I know it's double digits, and it's holding the lows. Like, this is a huge reversal from yesterday, and this is why, like, when Derek came on, I was reminded yesterday about when she corrected everybody on that story that it was old news, the AI partnership that they had going on.
Do you use Reddit often?
Not often, not anymore. I used to use it a heck of a lot more.
Like with Wall Street bets and everything along those lines.
Yeah, I used to be on there during the meme days. Like you'd get like good conversations that were going on.
Exactly.
And I just don't have the time anymore for that life. So I still think it's useful. I'm really interested for Discord when they have the IPO eventually for Discord. I think it'll make some sense. But Reddit getting a nasty reversal and holding trend down. The thing I wanted to point out, just to go back and maybe finish the thought here, it'll be SSR tomorrow because it's down 10%, and it's at the 200-period moving average. So I know, like, the second I'm done with this thought and going back over Rigetti, because we got it back into that, tomorrow, this will be like a day 2 short sell restricted play when it's at the 200-period moving average. So it wasn't the day that it went into the 200-period, but the day that it came out of it last time. Now, obviously, I know a lot of things bounced that day. It was a pretty big day for Reddit. If it can do even half that, you're talking about a $15 move the last time. If it does even half that, I think you have a nice SSR bounce type play tomorrow off this 110 area on Reddit. So I just want to make sure it's on watch. And I know nobody's really been trading it today, but back to Rigetti. I mean, Nvidia's back underneath VWAP. So I tried to get some more at VWAP on here in Rigetti. It just didn't get any fills in the 50s, unfortunately, but going to be short this, just going back over to it underneath VWAP and trying to play it into the bottom end of the range, as it looks to me like Nvidia's starting to give it up. There's a part of me that is just waiting for Intel to lose the bid under VWAP here, because I feel like if it does, this has been that high, like that 26 level as well on Intel on the daily. Again, one day above, but like the rejection at 26 has been around 26, I should say, has been pretty profound. So I was in it on the fills up at the top. Can't really get those now. I think a breakdown under 26 could make some sense as well. Let us know what you guys are looking. Yeah, Misty SDs, Reddit had downgrades on Friday, another one on Monday. Yeah, it's looking a little nasty for them. I have nothing against it. I've never owned the stock or anything like that. It's probably going to be a time to pick it up, I would say. And for those asking about HIMS, because a lot of people have, HIMS also got a downgrade. We talked about that. HIMS short float is 28.5% based on what I see. So anyone asking about the HIMS short float, it is 28.5%. Not that I've looked at the stock today. I'm assuming you're asking, oh, no, you're not asking because it's up. It's down 9%.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, HIMS, I never traded HIMS when it was in play. And that's what I told myself here, especially with this quantum space, guys. I'm like, okay, these stocks are in play and it doesn't matter if they're the Mag 7 or anything along those lines. And what I refer to in play is that you're going to see an increase in volume activity. You're going to see an increase in just transactions in the underlying assets. So you can see here from a daily standpoint, that the average true range of the underlying is starting to expand, and the volume also picks up as well too. So to me, this is an in-play underlying, all right? So just keep that in mind. You can see some nice engulfing candles here, but it really started in January of last year, so, or this year, sorry. So yeah, really good look here on HIMS. Yeah, breaking down, heading towards some lows. I was also looking at RDDT as well, as you mentioned it, Neil. So I went back to the IPO date, and we're starting to run into those levels. I mean, we're not quite there yet. 56, it would take another 50% haircut from where it's currently standing to get at that level. But here we go. We traded as high as 228 and are now at 110. So that's more than 50%. That's 51%. So that is a hefty haircut in this name that didn't have too bad of a report. I mean, I don't know too much about the company. I only used it for Wall Street bets and Bay Street bets to see what everybody else was talking about, what meme craze was going on. But when you see these names get these styles of haircuts, it's just like, oh, why? The fundamentals are still relatively haven't changed. And that was my thesis here on Hood, and I'm going to stick to it for that relative bounce here.
I think the problem is, like even if the fundamentals of the company haven't changed, like the valuations get outstretched.
Exactly, right.
And then when they correct,
that's the thing.
Sometimes useful tools, like you can't really do this that much for like a Hood, but when we talk about names like Alphabet or like Meta, look at like the historical PE. Yeah. I think if you're a long-term investor and you're just like, where am I going to get into this stock next, and I'm going to hold it for the long term? Just look at a historical PE, and when the PE, the forward PE gets down to around where there's usually like support, like right now Alphabet is trading.
It's like 18 times.
Yeah, 18 times for them is like that's really, really good. I mean, so if you believe in them, this would be a spot that you buy it for the long term. I mean, if you're not already in a lot.
Exactly, and I agree with you on that front. Before it was even selling off, Neil, it was trading at like 23 times forward, which is still relatively cheap to the street, but then it just continued to sell off. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard.
There's a couple of industries that I don't. Like, so I always throw like things. So there's ones I'll throw out. I'll throw out the auto because I don't like autos. Yeah, the only auto that I've invested in for the long term, I think, is more than just a car company, and that's Tesla.
Tesla, exactly.
And I don't like the airlines, so I don't care what the valuations say. I think you can trade them and leave it at that because it's just too hard of a business. I've never really believed in the rest. I've never really invested in restaurants. It's like, man, some of them are so good. Some of the like shoe brands, those are like they're all really, really tough businesses, and if you understand them, you understand them. But they can be really difficult. So I don't worry about the fundamentals as much with those, especially those car companies, man. Like car companies, airlines, you go out of business, you come back, you go out of business. Well, I mean, bankruptcy and bailouts, and you just go back and forth. So there's trades there. But for the long term, man, you get moped.
Like, yeah, exactly. And speaking of car companies, we'll pull up Ford here, and it's like I mean. I don't know I'm not American, but would you classify this as American's #1 car? But here we go. Like, we're trading at $9.94. And how far back do we have to go to realize, yeah, we're just back at those levels here? So now this is 2011. I don't even want to go any more further back to pour some salt in the wound for everybody. But that's what you're trading around. There's no consistency within the price action in these names. So I agree with Neil, the restaurant space, the car business, not something I would necessarily want to be a part of. And I don't think they're good investments at this point. But let's see what Adair's up to, guys.
We just have an announcement here from Jensen Huang saying that Nvidia, Google's DeepMind, and Disney Research are going to be working together to develop Newton physics engine. It's expected to be available later this year. So that's right. Disney's apparently its research and here working with Nvidia and Google DeepMind to develop this Newton physics engine. Keep an eye on DIS popping higher here, GeoOGL, and of course NVDA. Also on watch. Back to you.
There's a part of me just wants to fade all of these. Like if Disney has a double top at 100, like fade it at 100 if it gets there. Just because nothing's following through to the upside. So why, like you're in a market which is not constructive to the longs right now. So I think this makes some sense. It's been trending down like everything else. It's got an obvious top at $100 only because it was a double top yesterday. Oh, there we go, fade. Yeah, because I always say, like, to me, short, when I say fade, it usually means it's an upward trend and I want to short it at a high, as opposed to, you know, like if you're taking a flap, I would never call that like a break of a low or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about the way that I use it, because I use a fade to describe, like, I'm shorting into an up move at like a resistance level. So if I see it get into 100, I'd want to fade that move on Disney, but it's not even going to get to 100. It doesn't look like. Maybe the reversion's already starting to come in. Yeah. Every one of these bounces, man, I'm telling you,
Disney.
Like Nvidia's bounced when the event started, back to the downside. I'm pretty sure GM's as well. If it gets to 100, I think that's going to be a short. SMCI broke low of the day. Roof Ninja, you're right. And I'll slap the old fail on SMCI because I got out of SMCI on target because my thought was, well, I'm taking a trend break because Nvidia is starting to break down. So when Nvidia catches a bit of a bid, we'll get out. Well, Nvidia caught a bit of a bid and SMCI decided to continue another $1 to the downside. So, yeah, we're not going to get VWAP on this one, I don't think. So we'll have to shoot somewhere else here. I'm just going to throw up the 15-minute so you can get an idea. Like, why do I not love the short at the bottom? Well, because it's
running into those.
Yeah, like it's right into the lows from Thursday. So it's an awkward spot to try to enter a short on SMCI, but absolutely should have held that trade.
Yeah, that would have been a really nice trade if you got it into those. But it's all right. You put the trade on and got what it is. But yeah, this is my take on Disney. I forget somewhere along these lines they were having that proxy war with Nelson Peltz there. But then as soon as he offloaded all his shares, I think the stock rallied a little bit there. So yeah, we'll take a look at some Disney later. And that's another name, these theme parks and Disney. I know they're having troubles with the streaming. I know they just started to turn a profit as well too. So that's a positive sign. Again, yeah, just don't like the name really, to be honest with you, especially with how it's been trading for the past little while. But guys, let's see what Adara is up to.
What's this?
Be aware here. It sounds like Nvidia is going to be ending their conference as of right now, or at least not the conference, but the keynote speech. Jensen saying so to a robot here. Apparently, they also just announced right now the availability of their Groot N1. It's one of their new platforms. So keep an eye here on NVDA. Looks like, according to Jensen, that this keynote speech is soon set to end, as they're going to be having lunch over on the other side of the world. So keep an eye here on NVDA. He's currently wrapping up that speech, guys.
Yeah, he's got the robot on the stage with him there. Like, I don't know. But they're not done yet. But when they wrap up, you're gonna want to look for a move, I think, in Nvidia. It's given you this 1175. I like to leave a trend line in. So I'm just gonna note when this broke the trend from the bottom, that turned into immediate resistance at 117.65. So I'd like to see, ideally, you end the conference, it pops, tries to break here, doesn't break it, and then look for some kind of a short. I mean, otherwise, if we're just going to stick with the range, like you can basically, like right now you're getting 50 to 40 and trying to reload on Rigetti at VWAP to short this one under VWAP. But the other play would be if Nvidia wants to give us, when he ends it, some kind of a pop into this 117.6. I like when you get confluence like this, where you have a trend line that holds from the bottom, it breaks, and then the point of entry on the break stays as a resistance spot. Because now all of a sudden you've got confirmation of a couple of things working for you, which is the continuation of the reversal trend, and you've got that level working as well. Man, that you've now really lost that support on SMCI.
Oh, wow.
But as pointed out by Mantis, I still have the eyeballs in Intel for the breakdown under VWAP. As you can see, it is riding it. Just riding along, just waiting for it to go, Either give me the top or give me the break, and it's not breaking. You just got to be patient. It's 320. There's still some time, no question about it. The reality is, like, you needed to be either working the shorts on the event or just looking for some continuation scalp trades, because all the bigger trades sort of happened as you were getting into the afternoon and the event was giving you the sell the news, as opposed to trying to force them now where you're getting a little bit less movement here. But I'd like to see a pop in Nvidia to be able to fade off that level if it gets to 117.60-ish or so. I don't know if he's still talking. I'm seeing a video being put up right now. So they could be ending soon, as Adara had mentioned. So I'm going to have it up because I don't see him talking. You have some video going. Once the stream is over, maybe you get a little reversion. If it can't break that high, then maybe we can get into that short. I don't know if we can show it, but I don't know. They're showing off some robot stuff.
Yeah, but the robot dogs, I like them. I think they're very interesting. So.
Robot dogs?
Yeah. You never seen them? You had it.
No, I've seen them, but like I'm not. So we don't do like my growing up. Pets was a no. Just I've told this story before, and you know my dad and whatnot. I'm not like I have allergies. I'm not saying I'm allergic to dogs. That being said. Like I get like irritation and whatnot. It's not bad enough that it's an issue, but like.
So get the scratchy.
No, like if my daughter pressed me for it.
Would you cave? How long? Would it take you long to cave if she's like, I want one? Because it's coming.
When you have a little girl.
Yeah.
You'll understand why you're even asking that. Why you even asking that question?
You can't even deny it now. So if she really wants one.
It's hard not to want to give everything that you can to your kids. That being said, I have no trouble when it comes to like discipline and saying, hey, don't quit. Like make sure you get that kind of thing. I have no issue with that. But when you have the ability to, it's like, yeah, man, we could get one. We only have one kid. We got we could do it.
There you go.
I'd probably have to have a few more, allergy medication and whatnot.
You'd have to go back and get the testing done.
Well, I'm up early, so understanding that you usually end up parent ends up taking care of the dog. I'm up early enough to walk a dog if I had to, but no, like I just don't understand the robot dog thing.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty good.
You just get a real dog.
We get it. Well, you don't gotta feed the real dog. I mean, the robot dog. Obviously, you gotta feed.
I get a robot. It's like Brendan said, it's folding laundry, it's shoveling snow, it's doing dishes. I mean, I don't know if you can do the dishes.
It's essentially doing everything you don't
want to
do, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, but like you think about it, like when I hurt my Achilles, I couldn't do any yard work, so I had to hire somebody to all winter to shovel snow and do all that stuff, and put more. I didn't realize it until it happens, like the amount of burden that I was putting on my wife.
Yeah.
You got a robot, it just takes care of all of that.
The thing about the leg injuries, Neil, is that now you're on crutches, so it's occupying both of your other arms as well, too. So for you to just get around, so you have one leg, and then your other two arms are holding the crutches, which are...
I couldn't drive, man.
Yeah, that's a pain.
I generally, the thing that hurt the most, or that I didn't like the most, was just the disruption in our household and feeling like, it's like I can't do anything. And we went our camping trip was that point in the summer, and I couldn't go camping, and my daughter was all disappointed for that, and she was like all upset. I'm like, it's not safe. Like it's not safe. I can't go camping when I'm on crutches. I wasn't even in like the air cast or anything yet, so I was still in the recovery one.
Oh, okay.
Just a quick update here because I did not get the reload on Rigetti, so I'll show you. I was sitting there. Come back to the chart. Just for a quick second, just go back to trading. I was sitting there to reload it, but didn't catch the fill. Sitting at 48. I have 47.5. This is a midpoint fill. Sometimes I use midpoint fills if it's sitting at the spread, so I'm not hitting the bid. It just saves you. If you do it every single time over the course of a while, it saves you money. But did not get that reload. We're looking for the bottom here at that 1030 to break. And then the other name I'm still looking for is going to be Intel, which just broke 26. So we'll look for any kind of consolidation, but this is what we've been waiting for. I'll sneak an offer if it tries to come back in to the top. They just give it a chance to come back up, but I'm not going to hit that little low of the move because I want to be able to give it a little bit above VWAP. So we'll let this sneak in. But Intel has now broken down. Nvidia did not make the move that I wanted in terms of going up into 117.6, so no reload there. We're going to hang on to Rigetti. You're going to jump into some Intel if we can. And SMCI continues to bleed. Joe, it's looking. That stock is under a lot of pressure right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the biggest volume candle since the open just happened at the low on SMCI, down 8%. Yikes.
Yeah,
that one, it continues to bleed. Sometimes a trend break, and it just keeps going and going and going. And
yeah, once you break through those key levels, and I like that you pointed that out, and that's why you always want to look at them. But when the momentum really starts to pick up to the downside, guys, then look to just continue in the strength. I don't know what happened to this guy's mouse here. But here we go.
Don't shake that because it'll do the...
Yeah, I know. So yeah, here we go. Yeah, we don't want it to pop up all those things here. So yeah, let's see what we got going on from a 5-minute standpoint. And I like what Neil's pointing out. So you can see that we broke through prior resistance levels here. Support levels there. Sorry, guys. And then now we're just continuing that downward momentum on that 5-minute time frame. You can see that volume really start to pick up as you crack those key levels. So just keep that in mind. So if you're going to look to short and play that breakout style of trading, then that's what you want to see. You want to be able to identify those high levels of volume stepping in, and then that way you can just give yourself more conviction within the trade for that downward continuation. All right, so that is SMCI. Did I hit something here for this guy's mouth sensitivity? Here we go. All right, so yeah, I'm in some XPEV here, guys, waiting for this range to break. We are around 330 here, so I don't know if that's going to step in. The imbalances might help put a little momentum up under it, but then I'll be out of that trade for sure. So yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more patient.
Whoa,
If we crack the lower end of this range, then I'll just hop out of the trade and then look to get back in. All right. So yeah, that is the thesis. I think I froze here, Neil. Did you? Okay, no, we're back here.
You're good.
Yeah, we're back live here again. So yeah, that's my game plan here in XPEV. You've seen that we were trading it earlier in the day. It worked out to the long side. Gonna look for that continuation, even though we're still negative 7% on the day, closer to 8. Well, I want to see if this can get a rebound. I like what Neil said as well too. So there's multiple factors that need to be taken into consideration. Is that the fact there's not much room for error within this. So that's why you see this 8% day. We were tapping into the all-time highs close with 2650 being around that level, and then we open up right around 25, and then now we're trading down 8% lower off this earnings print, which is unfortunate. So yeah, just going to be patient in XPEV. If it breaks the low, then I'll just hop out of the trade, and that will be that. So go back to Hood, see if it has climbed back to those levels that I was looking at earlier prior to see if we can get involved in this trade once again. And here we go.
Oh, we're dropping now.
Yeah, is the market dropping? Yeah, so here you can see we're starting to pull back in towards the volume weighted average price here, guys. So we got to be patient. Multiple opportunities to get in at VWAP as well too, just for little scalps as you climb higher and higher. But this price action is not too good. I mentioned the high levels of open interest at that $40 strike price, so we need to take that into consideration, all right? But the nice bottoming signals is what got us in here on the 5-minute, and this was the most orderly type trading, I think, in this name, other than to the downside out of the opening drive. But again, we had about 30 minutes of just straight green candles in XPEV. We're closer to 20 minutes, I guess we'll call it that. Again, but no real pullback. A nice breath in the underlying name as well too. So take some out, and then we just continue to partial our size out all the way up to the top and almost caught the top wick on this name. So yeah, but again, I don't think we climb too much higher here in Hood, Neil. That those high levels of open interest during this expiration cycle, I think, are just pinning us at this specific level. And that's the exact same thing here with NVDA. So we couldn't crack 120. Why? Because there's about 130,000 open contracts at that 120 strike price, and then on both sides of the options chain, that's just going to pin the stock price and not give you the ability to crack through, because we need to absorb that in order to climb higher. So that's why we're down about 2.7%. And if you want to look at and gauge things from a weekly standpoint, I mentioned 560 on the SPY as well too as a potential base. We bounced off of that, and then now NVDA, we have the inability to crack 120. So
yeah.
I'll be patient. Some sideways price action. I think we're waiting for FOMC tomorrow. That's definitely going to bring some volatility in the market.
So there's a couple of things on the early look locator, and that's the imbalance locator, the early look anyways, and it's HPE, HPQ, both sizable buys relative to their volume on the day. Like HPE's done 10, excuse me, sorry guys, I couldn't get to the mute there. 10.8 million shares done, 4.7 million share early look buy, imbalance HPQ 3.5 million. So these might be worth a bit of a wash. It was HPE because it's done better volume. Tight range, obviously, but if there is any kind of a press, it's got a pretty clean double top. Just wait till the imbalance is at 20 minutes from now. There might be a bit of a trade on both, on either one. But HPE is the one that I am watching. Wow, Intel. You really don't want to let us in. Nope. Yeah, we're not going to get that. Sometimes you should just take the actual break of the even dollar. Even dollar break would have worked. I thought we're going to consolidate because Well, that's what happened last time. So when it broke VWAP earlier, I was anchored to, I was in the short, it consolidated, I trailed out when it tried to break up, but it gave you a long consolidation. Now it's just breaking on down. I'm gonna sit here on any pop, at least until the imbalances come out. We'll see if we can't get it in front of that 26. But for Intel, 25 cents is 1%. So if you start chasing this thing 15, 20 cents, it starts to get out of whack. Any risk to reward trade you might make. Rigetti, like I said, we jump back into it, and it's still range bound under VWAP, so I'm still sitting on the offer trying to grab the 50s. If we break the low of 30, I don't have a bid yet at 1020, but I want to respect that 1020 level on Rigetti where it put in the higher low. This is also, and I pointed this out in the morning show, this is trying to break its 50 period back to the upside. So for now, I like the kind of rejection and makes a high and trends back in when it loses the 50 period. But the other side of that coin is it's also a chance that it could break it out if the quantum rush continues to happen, continues to go. And this is from Mr. Westermeyer for you, Joe.
Oh, wow.
26 months. It feels like you've been a member longer than 26 months, Mr. Westermeyer. Did you get the hoodie yet? Because it got sent. Maybe I should check it out. Just let me know. Can you let me know if you got the hoodie from our bet? Because I lost the KC Buffalo bet, obviously.
Oh, no.
But saying, Joe, you're doing a fantastic job hosting, been traveling and not trading too much, but looked at Alphabet and wow, seems so undervalued. $160 $160 for a swing, you're asking.
Yeah, I think
we just spent talking. We were just talking about the value of Alphabet
Google,
being good,
right? Exactly, and I agree on that front. It's unfortunate. I talk about how they have to divest from Chrome and everything along those lines, and how they're correlated with Apple.
True.
But I do like. That's the thing, though. That there's just so much you get with this name, right? It's like almost a tech ETF in itself. What essentially is YouTube, Waymo, Willow, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some other things. But yeah, here we go. I mean, this is a positive sign, though, Mr. Westermeyer. You can see that we're starting to put in some more buying pressure in this name. So if we want to go from peak to where we're currently trading at right now, that's 22% down. So a tough look, but I do like this buying pressure. The only issue is that there's not really volume to stand out to say like, hey, we're ready to turn around. But you can still totally base a trade off of this. And this is why I like, if you're going to try to catch a falling knife, use these definitive signals as your outs, and then you can base a trade thesis off that. So if you like 160 long on Google, I agree with you on that front. I do like it for potential bounce as well, too. And if Google decides to bounce, I believe some of the other names will start and continue to participate. And then you can look for that continuation within the overall market. But what I'm getting at here is that if you're wrong, and if the thesis is wrong, so say we wanted to long it from 161 here, we get out at 156, right? So that's a $4 stop essentially, and I like that. So that's what I would do from a trade standpoint, is that, okay, if you're going to go either common stock or whatever it may be, or if you're looking to use options, still utilize these levels as your definitive outs. And that's exactly what I would do. 156, we're now trading at 160. So yeah, that would be my out on this trade. If it wants to crack lower, I think there's going to be more trouble in this name, Google. But yeah, I mean, we're right back at April of 24 levels. So yeah, I believe that we can bounce in Google. I still like the company. Everything along. YouTube is an absolute monster. Waymo's continuing to take market share, moving into Florida. I'm pretty sure they're getting into Austin as well too. So
you know what you didn't say?
Pardon me?
You missed one thing.
What's that?
It's also a quantum play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Willow. Well, I said Willow. I believe.
You did say Willow?
Yeah,
Okay.
I said Willow. Yeah.
My bad.
But that's the thing. I'm like, it's like, okay, we got YouTube, we have Waymo, we have Willow. What else there? Because I know there's something else in there that I'm missing. But
it's also you meant. I mean, it's a streaming play. Because
exactly right. So
the only thing I don't pay for is YouTube. Like I don't have YouTube Pro, but I've been
search obviously.
Like I've been thinking about it because I don't know. Some people said like, yeah, it's not that bad, but I pay for all the other, pretty much any streaming service I'm paying for to watch content. My daughter loves YouTube.
Yeah.
Like she's like outside of Duolingo, where she's in front of a screen that isn't her playing Minecraft or Roblox, then it is YouTube.
And I think that's
where she learns.
Right?
It's where she learns how to
exactly YouTube
like
University. We like
little tricks on on Minecraft for her. Like, it's a big thing. That's what the kids like these days. So.
Exactly. And
we obviously like YouTube too.
Yeah, we love YouTube. We love YouTube.
You don't have to take 30%, but we love you anyways. Hit that like, hit that subscribe.
I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe button.
Look at that.
There he goes.
In the same shirt.
Is that the same shirt of what you're wearing right now?
Well, no, I have two identical shirts.
Okay, different color.
One that. No, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same shirt. Of course.
I don't have. Yeah, there it is. Oh no.
Yeah.
All right, two identical.
I love when it happens. Like sometimes, every once in a while, I'll still wear the shirt on this in the graphic. What do you call that? My the position board. But like, what do you call those? Like a profile pic, whatever.
Oh, okay, the profile pic.
Yeah, it's
doesn't John Harbaugh wear the same khakis every day or something along those lines?
Does he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You just have a bunch of the same.
It's like a bunch of the same ones, right? Essentially.
If you're comfortable, do you?
Do you exactly?
Do you? The thing that we always make sure we do is go to the desk when Adara asks.
Bang.
Definitely make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, because there's been a lot of it today, including Nvidia's keynote speech. As mentioned here, Jensen Huang left the stage a while ago for that Nvidia keynote, but we do have on watch here some of these quantum tickers. I'm seeing some announcements coming out of the conference, and apparently Nvidia is set to build an accelerated quantum computing research center. So this is just a report. I'm not seeing any clarification for that, but keep an eye here that it looks like there's some kind of talks, at least, of a quantum computing research center being built by Nvidia. So keep an eye on Rigetti, QUBT, QBTS, etc. Back to you.
Well, I can tell you that Rigetti actually headed to the downside there, so I do like that. But you know what else we like around here? The opportunity for free things. We like free things. And guess what is going again? It is e-signal. The first month is free. We talk about it because we know it, we use it, we respect it. Because as a trader, you can get everything you want all in one place on an easy-to-use platform with lightning-fast data, reliable data, every indicator you can imagine, the ability to backtest, forward test, use an API to automate trading, connect to your broker, to many brokers, I should say, and have the ability to execute your trades directly through the platform. I mean, I know we're showing the video for you, but I can show you live level 2 quotes. I happen to have the diamonds up right now on my e-signal. I have live level 2 quotes up there. But the key thing is that first month is free, because if you want to trade better, then you want to step your game up and use the right tools. I think it's for you. If it doesn't work, well, then what do? You tested it for a month for free, and no harm, no foul. So scan that QR code you see right in front of you. I'm always reminded whenever we do this that I should always be looking at my trade rate as well. What's up there? Well, I'm trading Rigetti, but QBTS, Nvidia, AMD, so it's all the chips. That's what we're in. I'm in Intel, although that's kind of down a little bit further on the list. So those are the names that are doing the most relative speed of transactions, so you're getting that volatility. It's just one of the indicators that I like with e-signal that I happen to use. And speaking of Intel, it did pop back into VWAP. So no, we didn't take the break of 26, but when it came back up and retested VWAP, we're now in the short. I will add the caveat that it's 338. So you got 12 minutes till the imbalances come in, meaning the closer we get to 350 for myself, I tighten stops up. So if I'm previously giving it to this bar here, 2608, that's going to tighten up usually to the even. The closer we get to the imbalances dropping, only because Intel's a stock that will have imbalances. Well, Rigetti came back into the top of the range, picked us up at 48. We just sat there on the offer. Now we scalped some out when it got to the bottom, and now we're looking for the break of 1030, see if we can't get that 1040. Regrettably, Rigetti, I took out, well, I trailed it out here, but we took out the bulk before the move happened. You're like, well, why would you get out there? It just had more to do with I think I was right in getting into, SMCI. I think I was right about getting into SMCI, but I didn't hold SMCI. So we're back into Rigetti. That's working. We're into Intel. SMCI is still falling. I actually want this to get down to 10% so that it can be SSR tomorrow, because it's just a nice little catalyst when a stock is short sell restricted and the uptick rule comes into play for some bounce opportunities, because SMCI does provide you with a lot of volatility, and it's right at the 50-period moving average on the daily. So if it were to go SSR, this would be a good spot to take a crack at some longs tomorrow in the morning.
I agree with you. I like this quantum space as well too for some potential continuation. As for earnings, I know there's a couple names that we'll be paying attention to. Adair will have those for us. Not tonight. I mean this week. I'm referring to like this week. I'm pretty sure there's a name like Nike.
Nike we got this week.
Nike we have this week.
Micron
on Thursday as well too.
But tonight's
yeah, tonight, I think is it Five Below, or I think Five Below is, no, it's not, it's tomorrow.
Stone Co.
Yeah, so there's nothing from tonight, but I believe tomorrow. So yeah, we'll take a look at some of those earnings play. I went over them. So yeah, FOMC tomorrow. I thought it was next week, so that's my apologies. But we're gonna send it over to Adara.
Yeah, we could just look here at our TTV research earnings board here on X. You can see nothing significant tonight after the bell, but General Mills tomorrow morning. Also tomorrow morning, Williams-Sonoma, which is going to be one of the new inductees into the S&P 500. Then after the bell, as Joe mentioned, Five Below will be getting. Thursday is going to be the biggest earnings day. Before the bell, you get Accenture, you get Darden, and you get Jabil. Then after the bell, you get FedEx, Lennar, Micron, and Nike. And then even Friday morning, we have a couple heavy hitters, Carnival Cruise Lines and NEO. So definitely some plays to watch out for that we usually get around the tail end of this earnings season in between Q1 and Q2. Back to you.
I think it'll be spicy. We don't always trade Carnival Cruise Lines, but we almost always trade Carnival when it reports earnings in the morning. I still wish they would do it a little bit earlier. Carnival tends to report between 9 and 9:15, which is just nonsensical. Yeah. Most companies that report in the morning, they get it done before 9 o'clock, so it's not too tight to the open, and you can have a reasonable whatever. It's just an annoying thing that they do. It doesn't mean you can't trade it. It just makes it a little bit trickier in your prep, because while you're gearing up for the open, you're also digesting the price action in real time and don't have a lot of time or a lot of information to go over. Like in the aftermarket, when we get earnings in the aftermarket, you have so much time to digest the move and read the report if you're into that sort of thing, find your key levels, and then you come in the next day ready to go. It's just really condensed when you're trading Carnival. Does provide more volatility because of that, though. That's the good part.
Right, because they report about 15 minutes before the open. Then you have the opening drive, too, which is like, okay, you're just putting in a crazy amount of shares, just filtering through that name. Ooh, so, yeah, right. I like that. But Mr. Westermeyer said he drove over 1,000 miles to buy you dinner one time.
Okay, that's actually that's true, because wow. He drove up from, he's in the Midwest, in the Kansas City area, let's just say.
That's for dinner.
And drove up to take us out to dinner. Unfortunately, like Sean had a commitment, so it was only myself and Brendan, but came up with his wife.
There you go.
Visited the floor. We were able to chat. Great dude. And obviously we have some fun with the Kansas City Buffalo thing, which isn't working out that well for me.
Yeah,
obviously.
on your end. Yeah,
but it's all in good fun, and we have such a great community out there, really supportive, and we got to talk trading, like life in general. He's a great dad, cool. As well, and that's what it's all about. I mean, the community that we have here it's unbeatable.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's absolutely right, unbeatable. So. And unfortunately, I wish the market was doing better things. But like every time you go into a short, it just we might be range bound, but Intel pops, comes into VWAP, and then starts dropping immediately. Rigetti's still headed to the downside for sure. C8 Turbo, is that your real? That's a good one. I haven't seen this one in the chat, just to prove that if you're not in the chat, I'm going to show you this. C8 Turbo Beaver. CCL looks like a short. Bookings can't be that good in the last 2 months. I thought about this for Disney too. You got weather, you get the weather events.
The weather events.
People are afraid of. But then if we are getting a bit of a pinch on the consumer and you're worried about recession, how can that be good for trips? Like, are people going to Disneyland, or are they going on cruises? If we go into a potential recession, and it's just rejected the 200-period moving average. Now anything can happen on Friday. Traders are there to react to the data and not predict what the earnings are going to be. At least I'm not. I think it's an analyst's job. So I don't know what the bookings are going to be. But if it's right hugging anywhere underneath the 200-period moving average, I know I would favor the opportunity to short it if that's where it's going to be trading. You just never know what will happen. But I get the logic behind why there could be some concern there. And I think that could be an issue for Disney as well. I mean, it's cruises and theme parks. They've been trending down like that. They don't seem recession-proof to me at all. And if people are going to drop a streaming service, Like, gun to my head, if I had to drop a streaming service, I wouldn't be Apple anymore because I'm digging all their sci-fi shows.
Okay.
You know, because Severance is fire. I mean, Silo's not back on right now. That's fire, like Foundation. But anytime they come up with a sci-fi show, I'm loving it. Right now, if I had to drop one, it's my daughter that keeps me on. The problem is the second they come out with the next Star Wars thing, I just get it right back.
But see, that's the thing. I know you're a Star Wars guy. I know you like the Marvel universe, and so you think that Disney is going to be the first one you would drop instantly?
Well, I'm not dropping Amazon because
you like the Prime.
It's Amazon. I like the Prime. I like Reacher. Just in terms of the stuff that I watch. Like, I watch Disney when there is a Star Wars
a new show on. Okay.
You know, and it's. Andor's coming out, which is their best series.
Yeah,
so the new one's gonna. It's easily the best.
So not the newest one. So the one with Ewan McGregor and those three, I believe it is. So the Phantom Menace. I don't want to go to because I know you know all the names, but I think those are better than the new ones. The only good new one I liked is Rogue One. Rogue One is sick. No.
My man.
Yeah, exactly. Rogue One is the best one. There's another one.
Let's not talk about 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, exactly. I just think
it's 3:45. You don't want me to get started.
Yeah,
on
no,
it,
we're not going.
But I will say this: I actually think Rogue One is the second, and it's close for me because there's some days I think it's the best Star Wars movie in the universe outside of Empire Strikes Back. Like, I would put Empire Strikes Back 1. I put like Rogue One and the original. Just as good. It is a brilliant movie on a lot of levels, and I could make a video about everything that
it goes back to when them defending that chip or the plans or whatever.
It's also just a good film. It's a war film. It's a character
character
development.
To the original of it, right?
You have, and listen to me, Disney. You have flawed heroes. People aren't supposed to be perfect where everything comes easy to them because that's utter nonsense. You can do that in a fairy tale. When you're making a story about like heroes, you want them to be relatable. You want them to struggle. You want them to have to fight for something. Because when you earn something, it feels better. So when I see a character, and I'm not naming any names, Ray, when I see a character who just all of a sudden is good at everything and everything comes easy to them, it's not fun to watch.
No. And I think Kylo
That's great for kids, but that's not for
adults. Kylo Ren was a horrible villain too because he turned good, right? But I know someone in the chat. So I like the Clone Wars, whatever those were, and the Phantom Menace were my two favorite ones.
Now you made me. The imbalance is in 3 minutes, by the way.
All right, let's go. But yeah, guys, let's get back into these markets here. Apple, I know someone in the chat asked us to manage that. Yeah, the Jedi Knight, exactly. So yeah, show horses on Apple is fire. Slow horses on Apple is it on Apple is fire. Yeah, okay, that's a good look here. But just speaking of Apple as well, too, guys, you can see that we're starting to recover. Still negative on the session, down about 0.5% here, so not too bad on the day, I guess, considering the rest of the market is relatively red. We'll pull up NVDA and take a look as well if we turn positive. No, we're dropping. You see now you can see that bottom start to come out in some of these larger names. So down close to 4% NVDA, not too good of a look here, especially if we were looking for those bounces. And I refer to, hey, this just looks like a market breadth, and that's why you lead to the options chain and say, hey, what are these potential ranges that I can be trading in within this week? And it looks like that 120 strike here on NVDA has come into full play, and we're not going to exceed that for this week's expiration cycle. And for now, I use the example as well too when we had that $140 or 140, I believe, on NVDA or 150. You've seen that high level of open interest, so you have that put and call wall, and then now you can't breach it when it's all concentrated in one specific area. It does look like we're going to break out the lows here on NVDA here, Neo. It's not good because the volume is starting to pick up on the 5-minute time frames as well too, guys. So take that into consideration. The momentum is clearly to the downside, and then that's when you want to look at when the support levels aren't necessarily going to be respected. You have an increase in volume, and the momentum is really starting to pick up. It's harder to abide by those specific levels because it's just fast and furious, and the stock won't stop and turn around on a dime. So yeah, we got only a couple minutes left here, about a minute left until the imbalance. If there's anything you guys want me to cover, I'll be gladly do so. I got out of my XPEV trade because it started to break down as well too. Now trading at 22.52, which is surprising. I was in at 46, I believe. So yeah, a nice little pop. And that's what I was thinking, Neil. Is the imbalances going to give anything to this? I do know that it is on SSR.
Unless unless it's a big buy.
Right, unless it's a big buy. I don't think that's going to be the case. Still down about 8.3% here on the day and looking to take another leg lower. So the market is continuously bleeding. Does not look very good here, guys. Oh, Saif, sorry. Yeah, so Joe, did you answer this? I went away for minutes. I should rewind the video. Can you explain in simple terms to beginners how options affect stock prices? Yeah, absolutely. So they can affect them in multiple ways, and I'm going to just refer to them how I've been talking about it. So I kind of sound like a broken record a little bit. So how they can affect a specific stock price or a key level. So I'm going to use the example in Nvidia. All right. So when you pull up your options chain, I'm going to try to simplify this as easy as I can. All right. So the imbalances are in. Okay. Yeah. Continue.
Just give me like 2 seconds because imbalances are about to drop. I'll give the imbalance. We'll go right back to Joe. HP did come out of 4 million, but it was expected 4.6, so smaller than expected. Nvidia 1.9 million to the buy side. Intel 2.3 million to the buy side. Just punched out. Lucid sell 1.5 million, but it's only a $2 stock. SMCI have a sell of 800,000, so it's really Nvidia 1.8, not that big, but you do have Intel, which is a slight bit of 2.3. This would be more interesting on HPE if it had come out larger than what was expected. I wanted to see it bigger than the 4.6 that they were advertising. But just a quick look on those, and I'm going to double check. SMCI, not yet. SSR, random, it needs to hit 10% down. It doesn't have to close 10% down to be SSR tomorrow. It just has to get to 10% down with a single print. If a lot prints at that price, then it's SSR today for the rest of the day, which isn't much longer, and then tomorrow as well. So the big imbalances, not that big. Nvidia had a slight bounce. I did cover both the shorts. Rigetti, essentially 10.50. It bounced off some support here at 10.25 off of VWAP, and then Intel came out with a buy imbalance. Well, I just punched out of it. A bit of a range-bound trade, but the shorts, I mean, you're just adding to it the shorts that were already working since the Nvidia event ended. So 8 minutes to go. We'll see if there's a flip opportunity at 355 on that Nvidia imbalance.
Good luck there, my friend. I hope there's so Nvidia will lose at least half of its market cap. AI Dream is Jover. I don't know if that was a spelling mistake or you intended to do that. But yeah, just getting back to what I was referring to, and I'm just going to use the examples of what I was talking about all day and earlier in the morning. So when you have whole and half dollars, right, those are psychological levels that can impact the underlying asset as well too. So if you have a strike price at, you're not going to have a strike price at $251.50, right? Or you will actually have it at that, but you won't have it at 75 or 85 or whatever it be. So that's when you get into that whole and half dollar aspect. And then on the options chain as well too, what you want to look at is high levels of open interest. I've been talking about a lot, and how can that affect the stock? Well, it can act as support and resistance zones, right? So you want to look at a level that has an eye-popping amount. And so if you're looking at a support level, say here in XPEP or in the overall market, what you want to do is you want to pull up your options chain and say, hey, what is the open interest? What is the volume during this expiration cycle telling me, and how can this affect the underlying asset? Well, it can act as these zones, because if I am short some puts, so that means I'm synthetically long, that means there is going to be a base, and then you can run into those levels and then bounce right off of them. And the same thing goes for calls. So if you have a high level of around $25 and the underlying interest or the underlying asset trades into a high level of open interest, you need a participant in order to move through those levels, is to absorb all of that liquidity. But when that doesn't happen, it acts as a rejection level, all right? So that's just one way. You have options pinning. There's multiple ways that options can affect an underlying asset, whether it be at whole or half dollars. You can see that these guys, like a lot of traders here, Neil likes to trade those whole dollar breaks, right? Those half dollar breaks. And that's a psychological aspect, because in the options market, that's where you're looking at, like $250.50, 251, 251.50, etc. You don't have those smaller increments within the options chain. So that's just one answer on how options can affect specific underlying assets, and especially during earnings report. I use the Nvidia example once again, is that we have high levels, high concentration of open interest at $150. And if you see at the report, we traded as high as 148, and then we continue to sell off because there wasn't a participant large enough to absorb all that liquidity in order for us to continue higher. So that is just one of the many ways that options can affect underlying assets.
Great, I mean, mic drop as usual. Joey Options, we call him. We get man of many names and many talents, but Joey Options is the name for a reason, everybody. There's a halt right now, and so if for anyone trading or looking at this RGC, I see Stuart bringing it up in the chat, and a couple of others have mentioned this name. Nice recovery for it, but because the halt has occurred in the last 10 minutes, when the volatility halt occurs in the last 10 minutes in the NASDAQ or the New York market, the reopen is at 4 o'clock regardless of time. So there's no 5-minute halt. And we mention this almost every single time. So at 4 o'clock, kind of like the closing bell, will be the opening on the reopen for RGC. You gotta like a V-shaped recovery. I'm only pointing out, and I do this for just so everyone can understand when we talk about a stock. I'm not hyping this thing up or anything, but it's been to 30 and lost it all already once. It did that in 2020, did this in 2022, and it's now on a huge rally trying to do it again. So I just wanted to show everybody that. Right now, giving a tap of about $32. It'll open at 4 o'clock. Imbalances, someone asked me about SMCI, so that's why I was just sorting it by, well, it wasn't SMCI, it was actually SoFi, so I sorted it by S. But at 355, it wasn't a big imbalance on Nvidia, 1 million to the sell side, so you're not really getting anything too crazy. You still have HPQ there. The interesting thing is after 355, IBIT with a buy imbalance of 1.2 million, which I can't say I've seen before. I don't think I've seen an imbalance on IBIT. And if you've never, the thing about an imbalance, if you've never seen a stock react to it, like the first couple times we saw like EWJ or some of those ETFs on the imbalance locator, like, oh, that's huge. And then it didn't do anything. So I want to observe IBIT for at least a little bit before I go to the desk. But what I'm noticing is when that imbalance came in, it didn't really do much. So my first thing is, unless this makes a big move into the close, then that 1 million doesn't matter, even though it's a decent chunk of 27 million in volume, but it's not gigantic here for IBIT. But if we do get a spike up at 47 and I see it again, then I should probably at least try to take something the next time we look at it. But a 10-cent move in IBIT, it's not nothing, and it's breaking out the top. Good look because it's been weak all day. Yeah, it's not really doing a huge move. You'd like to see a better reaction. And the names that we were into the short on, I think it was the right decision to just get out. I mean, you're still, Rigetti's at the same spot where we covered. Intel actually went down. Right, so Intel actually gave you one more chance to short 26 and then pop back into 25.8. But yeah, that's done for at least today. Tomorrow, I'll be thinking the same thing on Intel. On the daily, resistance is above this 26 level, so when it runs into it, I'm looking for shorts up top. As strong as the stock has been, I get it. It's just been a sell zone. I love that look.
Yeah, we like the look, man, and a little transparency. Yeah, I mean, I like INTC considering it's in play, but just from a broader standpoint, if we were to zoom out a little bit, I don't love the stock whatsoever. Can it start to recover? But I think it still has a long way to go. We're down significantly and has been not trading well whatsoever for an extended period of time. So if you want to say, like, I would classify this stock as border.
I just realized I didn't set up the desk. I'm going to get to the desk right now.
Yeah, go.
I got to go set up for the aftermarket
Yeah, absolutely, by all means. So INTC, see you guys, first time with Neil, good time talking a little Marvel and stocks, most importantly as well too. So thank you very much. He's going to go get ready for the recap there, guys. And yeah, that's it. We'll talk a little bit of stuff. And there's one thing that I want to, because now you got me talking about options, and now I want to kind of elaborate more on what we were referring to in the individual in the chat who asked me those questions. So we're going to simplify things, all right? So we're going to start from the very basics and just go, options are a derivative of an underlying asset, right? So if I'm looking to trade an options contract, it's derived from that underlying asset. So if I want to trade some IBIT, I'm not going to trade it. How do I word this? So what I'm using it as is just an additional vehicle than using the actual underlying. So the underlying would be IBIT. If I want to leverage my position, then I can use an options contract. But there's always going to be, with a leverage standpoint, there's going to be a con with that as well too. It can't be all pros, because that's not how that's not how the stock market works or the financial market works. So we have time decay. Time decay is extremely important. that can affect a underlying as well too. So if you want to know how it affects stocks, you have time decay. So when a lot of options come to expiration cycle, like we have I believe the triple witching this Friday, right? Triple or quad, whatever. We're gonna have to double check. So what happens there during options expiration, and then what happens when we have a lot of out the money options as well too, and that's when we refer to gamma squeezing. Okay, so I'm going to use the example that I've been using a lot quite often, and that's going to be Nvidia with a $140 strike price. But let's pretend that the underlying asset is trading at $120, but you see a lot of open interest at that $140 strike price. So what can happen and how it can affect a stock price drastically is when those out the money options get closer to trading at the money, that's when gamma is going to be at its greatest, and that's when you can run into gamma squeezes. All right, so when an out the money contract continuously trades higher and higher, find the 10-second timer. All right, I gotta find this one here. I got a few seconds here. You guys are asking a lot from me here, eh? Jeez, you're gonna find that 10-second time. There's zero chance I'm gonna find it, so. It's not, okay, so yeah, we missed it anyways. Adara's got it. We got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, now the session is done there, guys. Going on about gamma squeezes is when you essentially have a bunch of out the money options that are now starting to trade at the money when gamma is at its greatest, and then traders have to hedge and cover those positions so they don't get trapped. But what does that do? That just accelerates the stock price higher and higher, and the inverse can happen as well to the put side. So that's just a little bit. There's multiple scenarios. We can talk about this all day about how options can affect an underlying asset, because there's definitely more than one way. So I tried to give you somewhat of an answer to the best of my abilities. But guys, I hope everyone had a solid session. It is Tuesday, FOMC tomorrow. Be patient. Wait for that meeting at 2 p.m. because it might be a little bit of eastward movement, a lot of choppy price action until that print comes out and we decide which way we're going to go. And then you're going to see that volatility step in. If you are going to be in a position at 2 p.m., make sure you have those stops in place. And if they get blown through, then you're going to have a hefty lesson to learn. So there's nothing wrong with being patient and waiting for that volatility to die down. And with that being said, you're going to see an increase in the VIX as well too, if we want to relate this to options. And then with an increase in the VIX, we're going to see an increase in options premium. So don't buy in just yet. Are we ready to go over there? Okay, all right, well, I'm just waiting for it in the ear there, guys. Once again, thank you all very much. I will see you tomorrow around 11 o'clock. That is my time, but we are going to send it off to Neo and Adara.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you filling in, Joe, for Sean. Chad had an appointment this afternoon, but man, this market, stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. These Tesla sellers don't stop. SMCI sellers didn't stop. Jensen Huang couldn't save us. It was a sell the news event for sure. I just realized we're kind of matching today at Dara.
We are.
The good news is gold was up.
Yeah, that's
Gold
good.
was up, energy was kind of up, but just a rough day overall for the market.
Yeah.
And the Nvidia, the AI event, like their event started yesterday here at Dara, but obviously today was the big keynote from Jensen Huang. We're gonna have Brian Shannon on. I chuckled because Brian had probably one of the most apt responses to the keynote, in which he basically tweeted out, and we'll have him on to chuckle about it, that Jensen Huang, it was like Charlie Brown. If you're not tech, if you're not really into the nitty gritty, there was nothing terribly groundbreaking. It was just wah wah wah, and the market wasn't feeling it. Sell the news event. Nvidia was already kind of trending back into the downside. There was a pop, and essentially it just faded the rest of the day. And whether you want to talk about Nvidia, which had a rough time of it, SMCI, why did I get out of that so early? SMCI was a great reversion trade in sympathy to the downside with some server talk there. You had news coming out with regards to automated driving, and Mobileye took it on the chin on a bit of a drop to the downside as well. So a lot of pressure. The quantum names caught a few strays based on this. QBTS was a little stronger, but Rigetti was a really good short at the same point when you saw Nvidia start to turn around there. So yeah, the story is it wasn't a good day here for the market overall. Good trading day because just everything that we like short was good for most of the day if you were patient enough to find your entries. but we're still in that penalty box for a lot. And I don't see any reason why things would change tomorrow with the Fed because we know what we're going to get.
Well, yeah, I think I mean, there's always a chance that we could switch things up, but I think it's highly unlikely. I think it's interesting, too. This is not really likely to impact the Fed decision, but I think it's worth noting. We have now the head of supervision for the Fed. Formerly Fed Barr, he stepped down right ahead of the inauguration. Now we have Michelle Bowman, who's one of the more hawkish Feds, specifically as of late. She was actually the lone Fed to not approve the 50 basis point cut. So they made that decision. It was not unanimous, and that's pretty significant. So regardless, I think the fact that she's been selected by Trump to be the head of supervision for the Fed could be interesting. It could be something to watch. Whether it's going to move the market, I highly doubt it will when it comes to the Fed meeting tomorrow. But I do think it's worth noting that she was chosen, given that she is pretty hawkish. So I would think that Trump, who is pretty focused on getting these rates down, it's not the pick I would have expected. I'll put it that way. But apparently she's very bank friendly. So that keep an eye on these bank stocks. As always, when you get that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I still like the financials and what they can do this year. Obviously, it hasn't been. You haven't seen exactly everything you wanted from financial regulation. I'm going to get away from Rigetti and just quickly show you a gold chart in a second. But you haven't seen everything you wanted from the regulatory standpoint. M&A is not really picking up yet because the FTC hasn't really loosened the strings there. Trading, I think volatility is in the market. I think that's a good thing for sure. But just when talking about how rough a day was, you guys can see the board. I mean, almost all the ETFs going to head to the downside. You are getting at least a continuation trade here in gold. Obviously, the VIX has been pretty strong, so you're looking at the things to hedge in. The metals plays continue to rally, so another fresh high there for gold. We've been talking a little bit, at least I have on silver. I don't know why I typed in XLV, healthcare, which has been okay. Silver is retracing back toward the highs, so it's making another run, higher lows, another run to try to break that highs on SLV. So I think you find a little bit of strength to hide out in. But we have to talk about Tesla because, like, what didn't you have for Tesla? You've got the Elon Musk issues at Era, obviously not that loved. You got BYD coming out with a 5-minute. Basically telling you can get a full charge, full range in 5 minutes, which is crazy. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether that's true or not. I just know the report, and I know that Tesla is just sitting down well over 50% from highs, while BYD is breaking out the top. The charts speak for themselves here, although you have to understand, of course, like Tesla did do a ridiculous rally to get from 220 into that 480, and it's just retracing the move. Like if you were a buyer of this back last October, or you could just even go back, you could say, like give us in the middle of the year or even August, like any of those times around this 200 level, you didn't take anything out. Like I openly said, I was like, I think I'm an idiot. I thought I was an idiot for having bought at 222 last time and then selling the amount that I bought. I still own Tesla shares from way back, but selling the amount that I bought, trimming some underneath 360 because I saw this double top and I decided to take some out. I felt like an idiot when the stock was at 480, but that's the thing. It looks good now, but all I did is bought back in at 220. So understand that they're under a lot of pressure. The other name in the autos, of course, was XPeng, which, as you pointed out and Sharif pointed out, it's not as if it was a really bad report. Whoops, XPEV. But it doesn't matter. It's down 7%. And it just flushed right from the open. So sometimes it doesn't really matter what the nuts and bolts are. They just decide to sell the stock. Yeah,
it's a pretty interesting look. Like even Baidu had a nice, really nice push off the open. Then it quadrupled. Then it recovered. Then it quadrupled. Then it did nothing. Like there were a lot of names that were making really interesting moves throughout the day, and they just kind of at one point decided they did not care anymore, and they were just going to like lull out and do nothing. Yeah. Tesla was one of the few that actually did give you some interesting moves throughout the day. Reddit is going to continue to sell off throughout the day. Every time you thought you'd get a pop through VWAP, it was like, oh, never mind, I don't care. To the downside, right? So there's a lot of interesting discrepancies. One thing, too, that I thought was pretty interesting for myself was the MicroStrategy. MSTR, really nice start to the day. Then we push lower, and then we actually end up closing near this 285 area. And if you look at a chart of MSTR on a wider time frame, like a 15-minute, we'll do a daily, we'll do 285 has been an extremely interesting level for MSTR. Lots of chilling around support, lots of chilling at resistance. I think that 285 interaction could be on watch tomorrow. And if you look at the weekly, MSTR is actually triple bottomed at around 231. So does that necessarily mean it's bullish? No. But it does mean that I think if we can really hold and off the 285 tomorrow, I actually do not mind it at all as a long play. And we have overhead resistance at 320. So if we take that out, then I really, really like it. These are longer term technicals with Adara, but yeah, stuff I'm looking at.
Yeah, sorry, I had read it up there, but MSTR certainly, like Bitcoin didn't have a great day. The good news for Bitcoin is it stayed range bound. So even when everything was breaking down, Bitcoin held on to 80K. But MSTR, like that story, I don't know, man. It's just, and we keep saying this, shorting the pops has worked on that stock. There's no question about it. And waiting for it to get to your price level to put the fade in, buy more Bitcoin, well, at least you're consistent, Mr. Saylor. I can't argue with that. And I saw in the chat there when we're talking about the EVs, you can't only talk about the bad. So BYD's breaking out. We're mentioning that. Tesla going to the downside. But you know what? Rivian and Lucid got upgrades. And one of them fared better than the other. I'm going to pull up Rivian. Rivian was doing great for most of the day, then gave a lot of the move back. Still up a couple of points into a bad market. I said this in the midday that I don't think the time is yet for Rivian to reverse this trend. Like you can buy off the support at $10, I suppose, but I want to see it actually make a rounded bottom and start heading back to the upside. Try to put another trade on and just take profit if we get that opportunity like we did last time. But it was Lucid that was at least a little bit better in terms of holding up. Right? Like it did pull back, but still at least a little bit of a bull flag, 9% to the upside. It's making a bounce off $2 here. It's almost like it's just cheap enough and a big of enough short float that maybe you get a bit of a stretch run in and past the $3 level. We're mentioning this in the afternoon show. You always have to, as a trader, like if you're, let's just imagine you only go long and you only like stocks that are breaking out or parabolic type movers. Sometimes you have to just move to other things. We're not in essentially a really big bull market for a lot of those tech names. You just have to find the strength elsewhere. You go trade gold. Go find the runner of the day. Today in the morning, you definitely had Rivian and Lucid available as opportunities to you. You had the bounce in the bottom on the quantum stocks, which I still think are going to be big. And of course, yeah, Jensen had his keynote, but you still have the quantum event on the 20th, which is yet to come. We have a lot still coming this week, which we have to pay attention to. And we've got big earnings on both Nike and Micron and FedEx on Thursday. We have the Fed tomorrow. No cut. There will be no cut. But we should get, I think we get a dot plot again this week, and that should give us an indication of where they're going to steer things or where they're at least looking. Because that's going to be, I think it's more important how the economy is doing and how earnings are doing than the Fed, but it doesn't mean you can ignore them.
Yeah, I think one thing too, ACN I want to talk about, I just put this up here, I just saw on X, there's a lot of companies announcing that they collaborated with Nvidia or whatever. One of them was CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike did nothing. Accenture did this though in the aftermarket, getting this push to the upside, basically saying that they're expanding their AI refinery and launching a new industry agent solutions, basically in order to accelerate agentic AI adoptions. Jensen also mentioned the Accenture team during his keynote today and ACN as earnings on Thursday morning. So with that in mind, could ACN be a ticker to watch? I think clean pop here after market. Again, not a ton of volume because it is post-market, but I do think ACN could be a stock to watch, not only tomorrow, but I also think just going forward for the rest of the week, specifically with its earnings on Thursday. So that's my rant there. But yeah, in terms of tickers that were moved or on watch because of the Nvidia keynote, drum roll please, GM, Mobileye, Disney, he mentioned Dell, he mentioned IBM. There are a series and a host of tickers and companies that got some name drops there from Jensen Huang himself. And he did at one point say, this is a plug, we're holding a plug. That's my quote of the year from that presentation. It was a pretty wild one. But yeah, Jensen enjoyed himself in his leather jacket, and he and a robot were up there, and it was a good time.
And just to answer a question, John Cox in the chat here, it is witching.
Oh, sorry.
That was interesting.
Sorry about that.
It absolutely is witching on Friday. So it is the third Friday, and it is the quarter end, right? So it's triple witching on Friday. It'll also be, in addition to that, it'll be index rebalancing, right? So the S&P is going to be rebalancing the index on Friday. So it's a big close. There's a lot happening this week for sure that you want to get ready for. One other note with Accenture, which I know you wouldn't know this, but the 2010 flash crash, which if you were a trader during that time, it's kind of hard to forget. Accenture was the stock that traded to Ascent.
Really?
Now, obviously you break. Yeah, so it was Accenture. I don't remember exactly what it was trading at.
It was
the time.
Ascent, sure.
Yes, there you go. Ascent, sure. They would have ended up breaking a lot of those trades, but there was a lot of crazy action. But that's why it was a famous one for that reason. Oh, day trader cut. Great point. We're in a moment. We are in a moment, at least for now, where we are paying attention to the Bank of Japan, right? Because they have a rate decision tonight, and any extreme moves that they make that can affect the carry trade certainly have to be watched. I don't think you're ever going to get an event like we had before because it was a little bit more of a shock when we had it last year. That being said, you still have to pay attention to what's going on with the Bank of Japan and what they're doing with rates, because if we're not changing them here, then any move over there does affect the potential unwind of the carry trade. Just before, I know we're going to have Brian on in just a quick little second, I wanted to go over just a quick run back over to something we were talking about yesterday. And it's not to, everyone always asks, when is the bottom coming? There's a lot of questions of when is the bottom coming on this, when is the bottom coming in on that. And yesterday, when you had a really big, strong day for the solar ETF and the uranium ETF, particularly with solar, was just like, yeah, I know it came up a little bit, but just try to remember how distinct this downtrend is. And it hasn't really done much of anything to break that trend. I just wanted to point out, it's right back down 2% today and just gave back a decent portion of the move that we saw where they just sort of fade the pops. And that's the thing about these markets. You see it with Tesla right now. You've seen it with a lot of other charts. If you're trading to catch bottoms, it's better to have indicators of a bottom and then a reason to get long, a really good indicator. I'm looking at their guesses coming up, or some kind of an entry on a higher low where you have a confirmation of a break of trend. If you're looking at the long term, different story because you're going to hold it forever. But when you're trading, you've got to have those entries and exits. And what better person to talk to than our good friend, Mr. Brian Shannon, for some trader talk. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Good to see you. I only get to talk to you, I feel like, once a quarter because usually Sean gets the honor on a Tuesday when we have you on. But our favorite charter market technician from Alpha Trends, Brian Shannon, how you doing?
Good to see you, Neil. Doing good here. How about you?
I can't complain. Like I say this, it's interesting because I always feel like it's a little more somber when you have a positive day trading and we're doing the show, but it's like everything that worked was a short. Because it's when everyone's looking at their long-term accounts and they're like, oh, goodness, again. But as a trader, you're like, well, look at how good these shorts have been. Like, I just didn't hold on to anything long. And everything in the afternoon was like, I should have held on to this more, and I should have held on to that short more. But there's some real bleeding happening when people are looking at their long term. So it was a good day, but rough for the markets right now.
Yeah, I think different accounts, for different personalities for different accounts. You've really got to truly be able to separate what is long term and, put that aside. It's tough though. It's really tough to separate the emotions. So you day trade and you do your short-term trades and create some coin, and hopefully that's kind of hedging those longer-term positions.
Yeah, I find, and I'm only speaking for myself. Some people when they're young, you start out taking more risk, maybe in your long term, and then you start going into maybe like the ETFs and going a little more conservative later on. I was kind of the opposite because my income. Like I've only ever been a trader. My income came from trading, which is a risky endeavor. So I was just immediately like, oh no, I'm that dude putting it into the boring index. And then eventually, once I had a bit of a nest egg, then going into individual stocks. Because I thought reverse, because I didn't really see it early on. I didn't see it as being a stable income. It turned out to be one, but I didn't see it at the beginning. And I wanted to make sure I was saving. I don't know what your experience is personally, and not to throw you under the bus, but what was we only really talk about technicals in trading, but do you find yourself conservative in your long term, or do you like to take some risks?
No, I'm way more conservative in my long term, and pretty much all the day trading that I do is done in an IRA. I claim professional status for tax purposes, but still, it's just nice not to have to deal with any paperwork at all for that day trading. And if you're doing it correctly, that's the best place to day trade because you're protecting those gains from taxes for at least for delaying the taxes, I guess.
I'm glad you made the correction because anytime someone says that there's death and there's taxes, Brian, that's for sure. The other thing I wanted to talk about here is we've been making a lot about range-bound markets and how we get caught in these ranges, and people in the afternoon like, oh, we're just barcoding here. There's opportunities in range-bound markets where you find obvious support and resistance, and maybe your technicals can give you some good trades, but you have to be patient. So like right now, I know we have Fed tomorrow and we moved a little bit today, but right now, what is catching your eye? Certainly, I saw Apple had some big support levels. I mean, certainly, if you look at the number of names that were at major moving averages is a long list. I don't want to bother getting into all of them. What was standing out the most to you in this day's trade?
You know, today I Neil, am not good in those range-bound days, and I actually posted the chart.
Yeah.
I stole that term from Sean. I don't know if he's the inventor of it, but the barcoding. And, you know, I'm terrible in those, so I just sit on my hands, basically. I did very little today. Obviously, there's always opportunities in individual names if you're hunting the right ones down, and that's where you guys are really specialized. I, today, did very little. I'm looking at these markets, and you said some key moving averages, such as Apple. It's down to the 2-year anchor. That is from the first day of trading in 2024. And there's a whole list of the stocks like that. We've got the Dow 30 is at the 2-year anchor. I could go on and on. I mean, there are just a whole bunch of them. I'm kind of looking over there at my list. But yeah, it's we're at critical levels here, and the markets aren't giving us much opportunity for this bounce that everyone thinks is, miraculously going to erase all these losses. We're in a slightly different environment, below declining 20 and 50-day moving averages, below 200-day moving averages. It's going to take some time to heal this damage.
Exactly. Like the Qs haven't been this far underneath the 200-period moving average since what? It's like late 2022. So it's you got to go.
At that.
I had to go find it on the chart. I was like, well, it should be easy to spot, but you had to go really far back. And as you said, you got to be able to sit in your hands. But that's important because every trading style is going to be different. So if you're a day trader that can just find the momentum, great. Every single day there should be something. And we shot some videos. They're not out yet. We're reacting to some people making some TikTok financial guru videos. And it's going to be coming out soon. But one of my beefs was a particular one where they acted as if there was like only one way to do something. And I said, this trader here, they better have for their style a bunch of days where they sit on their hands. Otherwise, that's how I know they're full of it. And so I'm glad, I like hearing people say what you just did is, when you're a trader of your ilk, there should be days you don't do much. For Sean and myself, there's probably not a day that you're not finding something. But that's not always going to be true, and it takes some discipline, Brian.
It certainly does. And, I actually, speaking of the NASDAQ, the Qs, they came right down. That was their low last week, was the 2-year anchor. So that's hopefully going to be the low of this move, but it's just not looking very encouraging overall. And I think what you're doing, teaching people there are other ways to the finish line. I've got my ways that I know work well for me. Yeah. And that's why I always say, make the trade your own. I'm not here to tell people what to do, but to say, it's not an automatic buy just because it touches that 2-year anchor. It's a level of interest to say, now I'm going to look at a shorter term time frame and see if it lines up with what I'm seeing elsewhere.
And that's sort of the key. Like a mentor of mine basically said, you should be able to tell a really short story about a trade that explains what you're looking for. So it's like there's the reason you're looking at it. When it gets to your indicator, then you're looking for a reason to trade in a direction off of that, and then a confirmation that that's actually starting to materialize the entry point, and then you have your execution plan, and then you have your stop, and you've got your take profit. And it's just like a little quick brief story that you can tell, which is more than just an AV WAP, like you said. And look, don't get me wrong, Brian, it's magical when you point out a level to us and it bounces right off of it. And we're all like, man, he did it again. Like, look at that level. But I love the humility where you're just like, it's not as simple as that. You also have to develop some confirmatory signals as well to get you into a position. Just out of curiosity here for you, though, do you ever find yourself in that moment where, like, you see something that maybe bounced off of one of your major anchored VWAP, like the Apple one, let's just say. You see it happen, you didn't really get confirmation for an entry on a trade, so you don't get it. and then then something else of a very, very similar setup happens. Do you find yourself doing that trader FOMO thing where it bounced right off my line? I'm just going to put the bid in there the next time because I didn't get the long before. Have you ever found yourself doing that as well? I know I do it. If it's like that setup, it was there yesterday, I didn't get it. Now I'm doing it today regardless.
That's human nature, and truth is, Neil, I do still do it once in a while, but I wish I didn't, because it's better to stick to your process and say, just because that last time, this recency bias, it's a bias. We need confirmation from the stock. So if I do find myself kind of doing one of those FOMO trades, hopefully, and typically I will recognize it as such, and I'll do it with smaller share size with the idea of, okay, well, if I get my actual confirmation, then I'll take it up to a full size. But sometimes it's tempting to say, I think I can nail the bottom right here. So most times I don't get the bottom, so it's not the best way to approach things.
I'm going to steal that. Sharif says wet the beak is a term of you like it, but you don't love it, so just get a little bit involved. So maybe getting the skin in the game prevents you from getting all in, because now it's like, at least I've got a position, so now I'm not going to FOMO into the whole thing. But it makes you a little bit more attentive to paying attention if you do get that setup. Right, I'm stealing that one. The next time I'm like, I know this isn't the perfect setup. This is not the right entry. Like it happened today on Mara for me. It didn't get down to my level. It didn't set up, but it was close enough.
Yep.
And I could have just gotten 10 or 20% and then waited for it to go lower. That's something I have to be better at. So I'm stealing that one. That's great advice. Hope everyone, if you get an opportunity, when we're done here, go rewind and go rewatch this again and pay close attention to that, because that's an important point. You don't always have to go full size in anything. You can always just wet your beak there. We could always talk all day, but I know you recently were talking. And Dara was mentioning this too, and she was just talking about MSTR, and they're in the news, and Bitcoin's been moving, and they're buying more Bitcoin. I was saying this stock is allergic to the 50 period on the daily, in that it's just rejecting. There's like a gap. It's like magnets away from it. It's just opposing magnets. It cannot get to it, and it seems like the easiest scalp trade every single time it gets remotely close. But the flip side is it's holding the 200. I feel like this stock, if it condenses and continues the condensing move, I'm not going to care which way it breaks if it continues this pattern. It's just like keep having these come close to each other, and the second it breaks one way, oh my goodness. Do you have any trade ideas for MSTR? Because we get questions about it every day.
No, I think it's like you said, it's really kind of defined right now by that declining 50-day moving average and the advancing 200-day moving average. We have that prior support in here at, what is this, 305, that's acting as a cap on it as well. And that's also that blue year-to-date anchor. So I think that, while it's still below this level, it's going to need a lot of work. Now, the bullish scenario could look something like this, where it gets up through there, that resistance flips to support, and then maybe it can get through the anchor from the election and really get going. But for now, I think that you've got to treat all these bounces as bounces within a downtrend, because the sum of the declines has been and continues to be so far greater than the sum of the rallies. So it's just not showing really any good reason to get involved with any conviction. And that's taking its cues directly from Bitcoin, which is in the same situation.
So before we get you out of here, I know we're getting close to 4:30. You mentioned obviously the election anchors. Those are the big ones right now. Right? Like you saw it respecting there for MSTR. Is there, obviously earnings is going to be another one. Anytime a stock has earnings, it's going to be a big event for sure. But since we've actually had the tariffs come on, are there any new anchors that you're putting in based on tariff news and the recent pullback that we've had in some sectors because of tariffs? Because I still feel like the only anchors, and I talked about this with Obi, like most of the important ones, we're still looking back to the election, and I'm not really concerned with anything else. Unless if you can't start breaking those back out, then I don't care.
Yeah, from a more intermediate term standpoint, Neil, and swing trade perspective, I think that what I like to look at is that 30-minute time frame.
Okay.
And as you know, I'm a big fan of the 5-day moving average, which is kind of flattening out. But the anchor off last Friday's low, that is important. We're holding on that right here all day today. We dropped right down from the month-to-date anchor straight into the anchor from that low. That's this green line right here. And that's where it's trying to find the buyers today. But the conviction isn't there because we have, the Fed, and we still have all the uncertainty of the tariffs and all that stuff. But, here's the weekly, the month-to-date anchor. That's exactly where we rallied into yesterday. If, let's say, we recover some from here, let's say we see a little shakeout and then it recovers, maybe works at that month to date, then the next level of interest will be the anchor off of the all-time high, because that is, basically taking in that failed breakout. And if we don't have time. It's very similar to the top in the Russell 2000 in 2021. And I'll post a chart on that on Twitter along with a clip of this to kind of show people the similarities.
And that's why everyone, make sure you're following Brian at Alpha Trends over there on X, because you also had a really funny, I've already mentioned it 3 times, reaction tweet to Jensen, because I'm looking at the charts and I'm trying to listen and I'm like, I don't know what he's saying because it's all gobbledygook to me.
I didn't even bother to listen. When you were laughing, I thought you were laughing at my Toilet Tuesday chart that I posted. So you gotta take a look at that one. That's kind of fun
as well.
It's four Fridays in a row. Everyone was looking for Turnaround Tuesday, and 4 times in a row it hasn't worked. So last week I said, should we start calling it Toilet Tuesday instead? So I made a graphic to kind of illustrate that today.
You have to have a little bit of fun and a sense of humor when you're doing this, but also, as you pointed out, and more importantly, you have to have a plan of action. I love the humility, because even as you were demonstrating charts that showed them working great off of your technicals, it's always about what you are looking to see to execute a trade in the next thing. And that is my favorite part about talking to you, Brian, is it's not about the pizzazz, it's about the actual process which you stick to. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Always fun to be here, Neil, and great to talk to you as well.
All right, take care, brother. Best of luck in trading. We got Fed tomorrow. Can't wait to be able to, well, it'll probably be Sean talking to you, but I can't wait to tune in and always replay it so we can listen in and get some knowledge. Check him out on Alpha Trends. Funny content, great levels, great technicals. Our friend Brian Shannon.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, I got the button. My bad. My bad, everybody. See, I'm on Johnny on the spot with the button, but big thank you to Brian. I realize it's already 4:30, and it is that time. I always remind everybody, we got to do the roll call right now, and we're past the limit, so I'm doing it a little bit faster here. If you want to be in roll call, you got to put your name in the chat, and to do that, you have to hit the subscribe. That's the only way to do it. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already done it. Be a part of the community. It's the best trading community out there. Do it. Jump in there. Give a big shout out and thanks to every member of the team, especially Joe, filling in for Sean in the afternoon, filling in for me last week with Obi, dropping the midday with our good friend Sharif. Shout out to Fabian and Ramin on the 1s and 2s. As always, Adara and Brennan on the news desk. And a big thank you to Bears versus Bulls, best moderator in the business. So thank them. Thank Brian for coming on and dropping a bunch of knowledge. And let's get this roll call on.
Let's get it going here, guys. Thank you very much to Bears vs. Bulls, Neil, Sean, Brendan, Sharif. We have Joe, we have Fabian, and we have Ramin and Andre, and we have Lazy Rocks, Normal Special, John Manzoni, AI Ecclesia, what an Aussie Autofile, Go Long Trader, Market Mayhem, Day Trader Cut, Guap 10, Tony Kiever, D. Westermeyer, Alfredo Marquez, and that cool Venato, John Manzoni, Cold King, Dumble Things Films. We've got Sebastian Ontiveros, Derek Thompson, Dollar Bill, Stevenson Etienne. We have Your Huckleberry. We've got Paco O.R. Ronaldo, Bora Hout, Bebot 5000, and Andrew Chow. Mr. Misunderstood is the last one. I like that pun, and we're going to end off here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same bad time and the same bad channel.
That is right, Adara. And we're not going to all wear purple tomorrow, but I like the fact that we're matching. But you know what? It's hump day tomorrow. It is Fed day. We're not going to get a cut, but we are going to have live in the afternoon reaction to Powell and the dot plot. So stick around. The market's going down. We find the shorts, and hopefully we can execute them because that's where the market is going. We'll be right back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8:30. We are Trader TV Live. See you tomorrow.